All right, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever it is, wherever you may be. And got a got a feisty discussion today. Let's talk about a few of the rumors that are going on. But first, let's see who all we have in the chat. Hey, Caesar, good to see you. David's nemesis. Oh, yeah. I wonder if David's in here yet today. Hey guys, drop in the chat, drop the local time where you are. It's just interesting to me to see the time difference for all the viewers that are in here today. Oh, it's always that way. Always looking at the time difference and trying to figure out what's best for you guys. I know it's difficult. Jeffrey, how you doing, sir? Yeah, I am a little bit tired because I stayed up a while after that. I was so wound up. For those of you that have not watched or didn't watch live last night, Vahography channel with Vanessa Joy and Ryan Troy, you need to make sure that you get over and watch that today. Watch the replay of it. It was a great stream. Vanessa Joy, fantastic photographer and full of energy and just a hoot to sit down and chat with. And she's the real deal. For a Canon shooter, she's great in my book. So we had a good time. And I hope you guys, if you didn't see it, get over there and watch it because it is a lot of fun to watch. She's a lot of fun to chat with. 12 p.m. All right. In my neck of the woods. 3:01 a.m. Wow, Roy. And you're dedicated, brother. I really appreciate you being in here that time of the morning. Wow. That's fantastic. David's in here. How you doing, David? Golden Creek Photography 57. Yeah, Roy is dedicated, no doubt about it. 12:01 South Carolina, of course, down there in the Eastern time zone. Chad, show last night seemed to move so fast. It did. It really did. And that's what happens when you're having a good time in these things. And I was telling Vahography that he was concerned about time the other day. And I said, you can't imagine how fast a live stream goes. And the guest who may say they can only be in for an hour, and sometimes that's the case. Although when they're having a good time, they seem to forget about time and really enjoy just being in the chat. So that's always great. Not dedicated, just a late worker. Okay, Roy, I'll take that. I'll take that, buddy. All right, so let me give you a little bit of Nikon, my Nikon tip to all you Nikon shooters that have the Z9 and are looking for a battery, an extra battery. I know that it's been hard to come by. A lot of places are getting them onesie, twosie, or whatever. However, I got notified last night from pictureline.com. That's the camera store out in Salt Lake City. Great store, great people, easy to deal with. I love dealing with them. So I checked the block, notify when available. The new Nikon EL18D battery. And I got a notification last night that it was available. So I immediately jumped over to their website. Sure enough, they had one in stock. I bought it because I know how hard they are to get. Now, here's the kicker. B&H has that battery listed for $220, yet over on pictureline.com, it was listed at $179. So I had to jump back and forth. Were we talking about a different battery here? Nope, same battery, EL18D. And of course, I bought it, like I said. So if you're looking for a spare battery for your Z9, I would suggest you jump over there. Again, pictureline.com, great store, beautiful store inside, and check that block to get notified when it's available. You might get it sooner than anywhere else and maybe at a significant price difference. I don't know why the price is different because Nikon's a stickler on retail is retail. Their suggested retail is what everybody has to use. So I have no idea what the deal is. I even checked my card to make sure that I was charged $179, which I was. So if you're looking for that battery, jump over there, check the block to be notified when it's available. And again, you might get it sooner than some of the other places. So there's the tip on Nikon gear today for everybody, only because they notified me, and otherwise I wouldn't have known. So there you go. Okay, let's get back over here to the chat. Jess Breet, good to see you too. Jeffrey talking about Vanessa last night. She had no problem pushing Profoto, and rightfully so. You're absolutely right. Profoto equipment is fantastic. It's just expensive. And then you can look at this the way I should have looked at tripods and light stands a long time ago. You can buy enough cheap light stands or cheap tripods until you've spent enough that you could have bought a quality tripod or a quality light stand. And it's just, all in how you go about purchasing equipment. But I learned the hard way. If I'll just wait, save up just a little more to buy quality, then it's going to last forever. And C stands are the way to go for most people. It doesn't work for everybody that's doing things outside or moving things around a lot. Then obviously you need lighter light stands and things like that. However, Profoto falls into that category too. I do have a set of D1 500 Air TTL lights. I love them. Then again, though, the only thing I don't love about them is you have to use Profoto accessories because they have a different mount. I like the Bowens mount because there are so many accessories and things out there to use with those lights. So it's up to the buyer. It's up to you, but nothing wrong with anybody talking about how good Profoto is. Now, I don't know that she's a sponsor or a Profoto. I don't know. I can't remember because she did mention that, Profoto doesn't pay her. So, she's paying probably full price as well, and she's going to stick with it. So, great, good on her, great lights. And if you can afford them, buy them. Me, even if I can afford them now, I'm going to stick with what a lot of people call the cheaper lights, less robust lights. And that's the Flashpoint series, or Godox if you want to go Godox. The same lights, just Flashpoint branded by Adorama. So, all right. Hey, Ray, good to see you. No. Let's see. I go through too much lighting to use Profoto. Yeah, I hear you, Roy. And everybody's choice. Again, I'm out of the Profoto mix now, and I'm going to stick with the Flashpoint. Then again, I'm not too rough on the lights. They don't ever move. They stay here in the studio, so I'm not too worried about how rugged or whatever they are. But a lot of those lights are out there. A lot of people using them. Speed lights, yes, there is probably a case to be made because the Flashpoint Godox speed lights, there are a lot of problems with the foot on those speed lights. A lot of people having problems breaking them. So, still difficult to find many cinematic videos by Z9 users. Let's see. In this chat, if someone is into filmmaking and has a Z9, please upload cinematic work. Yeah, thank you, Jess Breet. And, I was saying that early on. I haven't said it lately, but yeah, I'd love to see everybody's work with their Z9, especially anything that's creative. And obviously, cinematic video is creative. I'd love to see more of it as well. And it's good for all of us if we're doing that stuff to promote Nikon that way by getting it out on the interwebs so everybody can see it. I'm trying to read my comments around my microphone here. I got to come up with a better microphone stand. I don't know that I like this boom arm. Let's see. Hero shots. Godox, Flashpoint, even newer or whatever, get the job done. So no need to go to the expensive bronze color or Profoto. Yeah, I would agree with that, Hero. But she made a good case. The ruggedness of the Profoto is well documented, and if you're going out on location and using lights all the time, lights getting blown over and things like that, then maybe the more rugged and obviously they're just fantastic lights as well. But nothing wrong with going with Godox and Flashpoint. I don't see a problem there either. Yeah, near or whatever they call it. I don't know how to say it. Uh, Nikon made a mistake that made you switch. What camera would you switch to? Good question. Good question. Man, that's a tough one because I think, and although Vanessa last night was touting Canon's color science, which I think is okay. Obviously, I think it's better than Sony. But if I was going to pick for color science, it would have to be Fuji. But then again, Fuji doesn't offer a camera, an all-in-one camera that I would be willing to pick up. So, but Fuji color science is fantastic. So I guess it depends. Maybe then I would have to have a couple of different brands. I would probably go with Canon if I absolutely had to. I have no desire to go to Canon or any other right now, but I'd probably go to Canon for some things and then have Fuji on the side because I am a little bit intrigued by what is it, the GFX 100. So, but it's a camera that's limited to very little that I do other than studio work and things like that. I'm not a landscape photographer, so. But anyway, probably split my brands if that were the case that I had to. But nice question, Golden Creek. Let's see. Used other newer gear, but not the lighting. Always been satisfied with them. Yeah, there are so many knockoffs now too. I mean, small rig was a knockoff, and we're all buying small rig stuff too. But I am getting to the point where, I want some American companies, manufacturers to start building and doing some of this stuff. I'm kind of tired of funding China, and China is just quick to knock off everything and sell it at half price. Yeah, I know it's very enticing, and the quality on that stuff has come up as well. But man, I just like to see, somebody besides China building some of this stuff. Yeah, Bowen's mount rules. I agree, Roy. Definitely a Bowen's mount fan. So many things out there that are in Bowen's mount. It's so much cheaper. So yeah. Let's see. Yeah, folks. And I mean, Golden Creek's asking for people to drop their Instagram. Drop it in the chat here and let everybody jump on board and follow you. I dropped mine in the chat last night over there on Vahography's live stream. Not much to see in my Instagram. I'm not a big techie. I mean, do I look like a techie? I'm not a techie. I learn enough tech to do things like this, live stream or whatever. But I'm just not a big techie. Golden Creek or David talking about too much invested in Nikon to change. Yeah, me too. And it's not just that I'm so invested in Nikon, that I can't change. I just don't want to either. So we're going to get into some of that in a minute. We're going to haggle about some things here in a minute, though, with Nikon. I'm getting on my rant today with Nikon. A lot of good comments in the comments section, man. You guys are on it. Doesn't matter what strobe light it is. When the modifier catches the wind, it's over. You're absolutely right. You're right. And you see that all the time. People talking about it all the time on YouTube and all the Facebook groups. Somebody, just about every other day, somebody's lost a light to the wind or something. Yeah, Jeffrey, that's my point about Fuji. Fujifilm's color science is just fantastic, I think. At times, I see some photos straight out of camera from Fuji that are, I think, even better than the Nikon color science. Hasselblad, yeah, that's one we didn't talk about. I don't have any need for a Hasselblad, although I always wanted one. And at one time, I was even thinking about buying one when I thought, well, let me build the studio up and really put it to good use. But I didn't. But yeah, fantastic camera. Oh, a cheaper wildlife focused camera. Can't drop 5K on a Z9. I hear you, hero. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Yeah, I'll tell you, Chad, U.S. companies would need some support from the government to want to build here. You're absolutely right. And, I've been a proponent on, and man, I'm not going to get political, and this isn't so political, but I think that, man, here we go. Send the hate mail to me directly. Don't aggravate people in the chat. Send it right to me. I think unions have killed production in America. Woo! Watch out. Here it comes. It's just too expensive for upstart companies here in America, and then getting caught up in unionization and everything else with that possibility. I think it's too hard for people to build a manufacturing process or company or whatever here in America. It's a shame, but it's so true. Now, I'm not an advocate of child labor in China or wherever, not at all. But a reasonable price for an American-made product in the photography field, I'd be extremely happy to pay that. So anyway, we'll let that grow for a minute. I'm a cool techie. Oh, thanks, Jeffrey. I don't think I am, but yeah, it's used to outsourcing, but for a need. And we have forgot to build stuff. I don't know if any of you guys watch anything on YouTube, some of the countries and some of the processes for repairing things, vehicles, this, that, and whatever. We lost that completely in America. But, after all the traveling I did overseas and seeing what people could do, where American products, we'd have products that were American made, and America says, well, just buy a whole new component system. Don't fix that one wire. That's not how we do things. We just sell the whole component for a replacement. And watching them do that, though, fix things, actually fix a broken wire, a solder joint, something, whatever it is, and hand it back to you. That's fantastic. We lost that in America. We don't do that anymore. Again, the whatever, something doesn't work, the window won't roll down. Well, just buy a whole window assembly component or electronic box component and replace it instead of just going in diagnosing it. And maybe it's just a cookie crumb that fell down in the switch or something. We don't do that anymore. First world problem concerning travel photography, and we'll phone in when the subject changes. All right, David. Yeah, I look forward to hearing that. So give me just a minute, and the line is open already, but give me a minute before you call in. The rant is what I tune in for. All right, man. Thanks. Appreciate that, Ray. Get your hands on Albert says, if I get my hands on the Fujifilm GFX 100, I'll never come back. You know what? That there may be truth in that, Albert. I don't think it would cause me to jump ship, but if I had that camera, I would probably hang on to it. Well, I say that, sight unseen, untouched. So I'd have to actually get my hands on it and try it. But for studio work or something like that, yeah, I think that would be fantastic. I know it's rugged enough as a medium format camera. It's rugged enough to take out into the environment, which is one of the things that, people said was a game changer. But it's not what I want to carry around outside, and it's not going to let me do other things that I want to do. But I'm sure it's a fantastic camera. Yep, there you go, Jesspreet. That's where we're headed here in a minute. I've got it queued up over here, and we're going to talk about this. The Z4 or whatever. So we'll talk about it in a minute. I disagree with a lot of things, and I'm finding that more people are actually coming over to what I've been saying. Very few yet, but people are realizing that, things aren't the way they used to be. And even Peter over at Nikon Rumors makes that statement. So we'll get on that in just a minute. What is the latest date on the presumably huge firmware upgrade on the Z9 that is more significant than just the AK-60? Yeah, that was Seth Miranda that brought that up, talking about this is going to be a very robust, he thinks it's going to be a very robust firmware update. But there is no date on it. He said soon. Well, okay, that's fair enough. Soon. Soon can be 3 months. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything about when it is. But then again, Nikon's not going to even tease us with anything either, other than the statement they made 3 months ago or 4 months ago. And they're not going to give us any more than that. Again, beautiful Nikon communication with its patrons and, helping us out and keeping us enlightened on what we can expect so that we hang on to the brand. Oh man, Roy dropped the Z9. I'm guessing it's okay because I have dropped. I dropped my D4 once. Actually, same situation. It just got knocked off of well, it wasn't a table. I can't remember what it was, but it was outside. It did fall in the dirt, which was a good thing, but no problems at all with it. Hope yours is fine too. Let's see. Yeah, Chad's not the unions, the people that run them. Okay, I'll go along with that. But yeah, they've all become greedy and everything else. And well, I really don't want to go down that path too much here, but it's just my opinion that it's not helped us as much as it. In the beginning, unions were great. They did help. Now I'm not so sure. I think they've killed manufacturing in America. Oh, okay. Z9 wooden floor. All right, man. Good. Glad to hear that, Roy. Yeah, Jesprit, we're going to jump on that in a minute, man. I'm all over it, buddy. You kidding me? This is what I've been preaching for the last few months, talking about what's new, what's coming, and everything else. And David's in here, so he and I are going to butt heads on the production. No doubt about that. Because I'm not buying it. Still not buying it. Not buying it. Let's see. Golden Creek. Starting out with photography, did I go to any classes, join any clubs to learn? Funny thing is that, since a kid, I was kind of interested in photography. And I've told this before. My grandmother was the, caretaker of the memories. And she always had an Instamatic camera or something. She was always taking pictures. And for some reason, I just enjoyed not just looking at the photos, but she'd let me take the camera and take some photos from time to time. Anyway, skip ahead to I'm in the Army. And for a particular reason, I had to go to a course. And it was photography. And I had a ball. I learned film, developing, built my own enlarger, bought my own chemicals and everything, and actually developed some photos with a homemade enlarger in my garage at the time. Had a ball. It was all black and white. But that really got the bug going again. However, life is what life is, and way too busy, couldn't afford it at the time, and just kind of walked away from it again, let it sit. And then after I retired, I decided, let me get a camera. So the only formal training I had was what I learned in that course that I went through with the Army. It was pretty extensive. I mean, obviously, if we were developing our own film and making our own prints, and it was for a reason, but I learned all the basics there. And that served me well in the digital age, because my next camera that I picked up later on in life, when I retired out of the Army, active duty, even though I went on to a lot of other things, was a digital camera. And I just bought believe it or not, a Nikon D5000 to play with and see if this is something I really want to, pick up again or enjoy as a hobby. Well, here we are today. So you can see what happened. I fell in love with photography and bam. So I'm self-taught through the internet with a lot of folks out there, smart folks. And if your passion is something, you don't, well, I'm going to say you don't need a formal education in it. Your passion will drive you to learn everything you need to know. So on a resume, I couldn't put anything down about formal training in photography. However, with all the information that's out there today, I've learned so much. I learn from you guys in the chat quite often too, by the way. So there you go. There's my education in photography. A lot of trial and error, which is fun. Let's see. Good. I tune in because I know you're going to tell the truth and give your honest opinion. I'm definitely going to give you the truth, and I'm definitely going to give you my opinion. Hang on. We got a caller. Okay. All right. You there, Charles?
Hey, Chuck, how you doing? This is Chad, Charles, whatever.
Okay.
Hey, you mentioned that your grandmother was the caretaker of the memories.
Yes, sir.
And I have to wonder if we haven't lost something going to digital, because there was something special about flipping through a photograph album.
No, you're absolutely right. You know what? We don't have that today. All we have are these digital albums or looking at a phone with posts on Facebook or whatever to show the memories. You're right.
Yeah, and it just made, as soon as you said that about your grandmother, it just made me think back to my grandparents and my mother and father looking through photograph albums, and it just, I kind of miss that.
Well, a lot of people have said, you're not archiving anything, no matter whether you have it backed up, in triplicate or whatever digitally. You're really not archiving anything unless you get prints. And I believe that's true. There are just too many opportunities to lose those photos. And I'm guilty of it too. I have printed some, but prints are the way to go. And those are the memories that everybody's going to want to see down the road.
Yeah. That was just a thought that crossed my mind, and it was like, yeah, you nailed it. And I just thought, wow, miss that.
Yeah. And I hope people take note of that. And if you are a photographer and you are archiving all these memories with your family, and we should be if we're a photographer or just into photography, don't let the creative juices take over and, shun what we should be doing. Everybody's going to want to see these and now video, but nowadays you have video, which is really fantastic because, how many people wouldn't like to look back when they were, 2 or 3 years old and see themselves and hear themselves? I think it's fantastic. So if you're not doing it, folks, make sure you archive these memories of your children and family. And as soon as later down the road, and, God forbid, but when, somebody passes, a loved one passes, you want those memories. You want to be able to show not just for yourself, but for the family. So anyway, there's my pitch.
Yeah. And hey, my biggest regret are the days that I let my camera sit on the shelf.
Yeah. And it's all too easy to do that instead of just picking it up. You don't have to have fantastic photos. I have photos of my grandparents from when they were younger that are terrible photos, but you know what? I wouldn't give them up for anything because there's still a photo of them.
I agree.
So, yeah.
All right. I'll let you get back to everybody else. It just really hit me when you said that about your grandmother.
Yeah. All right,
okay,
Charles.
Well, back to the chat. We'll have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Charles.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Yeah. Do that. I'm not going to continue harping on that, but if you're not doing that, you're just, you're missing some opportunities you're going to regret later on. Again, they don't have to be wonderful photos that you're going to show to everybody. That's for the family. It's an archive of, where you've been, your family, and everything else. So, and Jaspreet saying Nikon should hint at a timeline for NRAW firmware. Yeah, I agree. They should do a lot, Jaspreet, and we, criticize them all the time for what they should do. So who knows? Mosman, how you doing, buddy? Nikon Rumors had some strange takes yesterday. Don't agree that Z. Oh, hang on. Here's David. David. Hang on. I got to hit the. Hang on. All right. Try it again.
Okay.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. It's one of the reasons why I always go on about plant production has to be because I'm in the business where the group that I'm in, we start processing plants. And so I know how long it takes. But enough of that. But my first world problem has to do with I'm going on a trip to the UK in September.
Oh, lucky you.
And, oh yeah. But all my camera gear has got to fit in my carry-on.
Yeah.
And I am not 100% sure what I should do for equipment. But I want to get some group sync involved here.
Yeah.
I have a Z9, the 14 to 30, the 24 to 120, the 100 to 400, and I will have a 2-time. That is one system. Mm-hmm. For the second system, I have a D850 and a 750, and I've got most of the Nikon glass up to and including the 80 to 400. Plus, I have Olympus. I've got an OM1 Mark II, and I'm tempted to take my Z9 and my Olympus and leave my DSLRs behind. And I was just wondering what the group thinks about this, because I think that'll all fit. Because there are times when I cannot use my Z9 because there's lots of places I'm going where photography is not allowed.
Okay.
And what I may do then is I also have an Olympus TG5, which is a little waterproof camera that doesn't look like a camera but shoots raw.
Okay.
Okay. And that is my question. And I just wonder what everybody thinks. And I'll let you go and they'll look for this, what the opinions are, and I may come back if necessary.
Okay. Well, before you go, what are you carrying it in?
I've got a backpack.
Okay.
It's timber.
Okay.
And right now, I've got my 850 and my 750. My 850's got the 24 to 70 f2.8 on it, and my 750 has got the 28 to 300. Plus, in that backpack, I've got a 28, a 20, a 35, and a 50 prime, plus a flash.
Man, brother, you're pretty much taking your whole kit with you, aren't you?
No, I don't want to. Everything that I take with me has got to fit in the backpack.
Okay.
And that's what I normally use.
So
now.
So you can have a backpack and a carry-on, even for international flight. So I did this. Now, I'm not telling you this is what you need to do, but I'll just give you my idea or let you know what I did. I was running back and forth between Connecticut and Salt Lake City for 7 years. And I always went through this process of what do I want to carry out there? And sometimes I couldn't make up my mind, and I thought I'd be doing something that I never got around to. But anyway, I was carrying all this equipment. And you can carry both a carry-on and a backpack. Sometimes they get, snippy, and they'll tell you have to put one in the overhead and one under the seat in front of you or whatever. But most of the time, I didn't even have that problem. What I'm getting at, though, is that you can carry a ton of equipment in both your backpack and that carry-on piece. And I have the Think Tank Airport International. Now, I'm not suggesting you go out and buy that, although it's a fantastic bag, but it's going to cost you some money. But man, I carried D5, D850. What else did I carry? And D500 in what else? 70 to 200. One point, I took the 200 f2 with me as well. Several other lenses, the 24 to 70, the 14 to 24. This is on on one of the trips I went on when I went out there, and I thought I was going to have time to actually go down to the national parks, and I wanted to make sure I had everything with me. But now add in microphones because I was doing some things out there. Add in, you name it. I mean, I filled both bags, and I'm going to tell you, it will hold a ton of equipment. So if you're adamant on, I really need this, this, and this, and I don't want to leave this behind because I might, think about that, getting you a roller, and you can, buy more reasonably priced versions, not necessarily the Think Tank, but Think Tank is fantastic, and I've drug that roller all over the place. Even had to belly check it once after after a big argument at the gate, which I didn't win, go figure, but it didn't get checked, not belly checked, door checked. But I wouldn't let them just throw it in the regular cargo. At least they were willing to let me check it at the gate and pick it up at the next stop. So, but anyway, yeah, everybody weigh in and let's help David out. I don't know exactly what you're shooting. I don't know any of that. So it's kind of difficult, but some things may overlap. Some cameras may overlap. And so I guess that's what you're trying to figure out right now is what could you take that will cater to what you want to shoot and get in a backpack. So how much, a lot of people are complaining about the Z9. It doesn't fit in anything. And unless they all went out and bought mini bags when mirrorless came out and threw all their normal camera bags away, I can't see the Z9 not fitting because the Z9 is a bit smaller than the D5 was. And I carried that D5 everywhere, even in my backpack. I have a Think Tank, what's it called? I can't remember, but that thing holds a ton of equipment too. And let me grab it real quick. Hang on. Let's show the audience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Chuck. It's my Z9 will fit in my backpack right now, so that is not the problem. And I will be doing some night photography, and most of it is opportunistic because I'm trying to go around and see what I can see. It's going to be my fourth trip to the UK, and it's probably going to be my last trip, and it's going to be my partner's last trip. So we're making it 6 weeks long. But that's a nice looking backpack you got there.
Yeah, it's the Think Tank. What is it? Mind Shift. It's, I don't know, kind of like their other part of their brand or something. But I love this thing, and it opens from the back, so you don't have to worry about somebody coming along unzipping it on you. But man, I've had the 70 to 200, the D5, and the D850 with other lenses and things in this bag. So I mean, I forgot about speed lights and other things. So yeah, man, it's And most of these bags, everybody has their preference. I'm not saying this is the best one or the only one. I like it. But anything in this 33, 35 liter size, and that's typically how they market them by liters. Anything in this size category will hold a ton of equipment. So, I don't know. Maybe you ought to just list everything in in the chat there, so everybody can start crossing off and talking about what they think as far as lenses and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. The last time I was there, I took my D750 and the 600, in the 16 to 30 f4 and the 28 to 300, plus a 28 and a 50 and the flash. And it's but I also had an Olympus. I always carry at least one Olympus with me because they're small and I can hide them anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's with my Nikons, the problem is they're big, and sometimes that draws a lot of attention. Like I even take fingernail polish, and I write out Nikon, so you can't see Nikon from any distance away.
You know, I know a lot of people do that. It's probably smart, but you know what? They're just going to have to fight me to the death over my camera. I'm not hiding anything. It may be stupid, but you know, the only way they're getting it from me is with through murder. It just isn't going to happen. I'm just I'm tired of living that. We're not tired of living. I've never lived that way, and I'm not going to. You know, all the fear and everything else going on. And I mean, everybody is right in saying, be careful, do this, protect. But you know what? I'm just tired of compromising life. It seems the farther I go in life, the more I'm having to compromise based on somebody's feelings or, you know, theft or whatever. No, ain't happening. And, you know, you guys, I may be missing on a podcast or on one of these live streams one day because I died with my Z9 in my hands. Oh.
Mm-hmm. So is Vahagan here or just a picture?
You in here, Vahagan?
Hello, what's going on?
How you doing?
Oh, good. How are you guys doing? How's everybody?
We're doing okay, but as usual, I'm just running behind, you know, trying to keep up with the chat and everything. I've got Jaspreet over here, and rightly so. You know, he wants to talk about what's coming up, and Nikon Rumors has some information out, and I want to get on that here in a minute. And I want your involvement in it too, Vahagan, and everybody in the chat, because we're going to ruffle some feathers, and I want to talk about this here in just a minute.
Yeah,
that's J Square. Yeah, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you in here. Photo me, Ike. Sorry I hadn't moved down wow, I'm way behind on comments. So folks, I'm skipping over everything, going to the other end here. And I want to get this going on what's going on in the Nikon world.
Cool. Sorry I'm late, David, man. I just came back.
We'll readdress your concern here towards the end, but let me get started on this because I think this is where everybody wants to go.
I'll let you go because I can barely hear Vahagan, and
okay,
and I'll be listening in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye.
What's happening, Chuckster?
What's happening, buddy? Yeah, your audio is a little bit low.
Is it?
Yeah.
How about now?
It sounds pretty good. I just had to turn mine up a little bit, I think. Okay.
Yeah, I just came back from a run, man. I'm back.
All right. Good for you. Good for you.
Big update coming on It's Time Photography on Monday.
All right.
Back on my challenge. Yeah, it was great. It was fun. Thank you guys for watching, man. It was awesome last night. What's happening, everybody?
Hey, Ike, send me an email and I'll send you the link to get you in here. Email coming up. Send me an email, brother. Let me know when you've sent it. I'll bring you in here.
Photo me, Ike. What's up? Chad Davis, Jaspreet, Paul Connors, Jeffrey, everybody. What's going on, David?
Oh, yeah, he good. We're going to try to get him in here. He can call in, but all he has to do is send me an email and we'll get him hooked up. Hey, all right, guys, I'm just going to throw this out there to get it all going here, to get the chat, so you guys know where we're going. Unlike Nikon, I'm going to let you know. Let's see. So
No, I didn't quit smoking, Paul. Not yet.
let's see. All right, so this came out on Nikon Rumors. I hope everybody can see it.
Hey, Ray Jasper.
So there were two posts that he made. One is two new cameras not announced, but listed for Nikon. And then the second part of it is this random Nikon rumors from around the web. And yeah, they are random. And you know what? We're going to add to it because that's what I've been doing lately. And I really want to get into this with you guys. And I'm willing to stand my ground unless you can show me that I'm absolutely wrong. And I'll be the first to say, you know what? You're right. I'm wrong. But I'm sticking to my guns on what I think Nikon's going to do, even though they won't let us know. But there are some significant points of people that are coming around to my thinking, and I'm really happy about that. So let me pull this up. I'll drop this, and then I'm going to check on Mr. Ike. But, I don't know if you guys read it. Maybe you've already seen it and read it and don't need to. But the Nikon Z4 and this information. Let me jump over here and see if Ike's hit me up yet. Not yet. All right. So anyway, back here. All right. So I know Ike was talking about entry level for photographers and whatever. And it goes on the Z4 or this rumor about a Z4. Without an EVF and all the different blah, blah, blah. Might have been that camera, but.
That looks interesting.
Yeah, but so we go on, though, in the article. Let me go back up here so I can scroll. We go on in the article. The info, he says, here's the info I received recently from a news source. Okay. So we all right, I'll check, Ike. So we don't want to get too wrapped around the axle on the fact that he says a news source. He's not saying a credible source. He just said recently from a news source. Considering my background, I can tell you that's not good information, but he's willing to report it. The Z4 is going to be smaller, blah, blah, blah. You can read all the text here. But here, this is significant. He hasn't done this before that I know of. So NR's take, remember that Nikon's new strategy, I've said this before, is to concentrate on high-end equipment so we can basically forget any new entry-level products because they're being replaced by smartphones. We all agree on that. We've all talked about that. They're just not enough profit in the lower line, lower price entry-level cameras. He says he sees no space for a Z4 product line. The Z5 is sufficient in his opinion. That doesn't mean it's right for everybody to cover the market segment below the Z6, Z7. I agree with that. And I think I was talking about that. Z5, Z6, or Z5 2, Z6 3, Z7 3. This is interesting too. I'll let you read that for a minute if you haven't seen it yet. And I'm going to jump over here and see if we can't get Ike hooked up. As soon as I can find my cursor. All right. Gotcha, buddy.
That's interesting stuff, man.
Yeah. And all right, Ike, on the way, buddy. You get it, just join us. So obviously models will be announced sooner or later. Okay, we've kind of said that too. I think the main concentration for Nikon this year is a long wait list. And I want to give credit to Peter over at Nikon Rumors. I want to state that over and over so he doesn't think that I'm, one of those people that's rebranding his information. I'm not. This is from him, and I appreciate the fact that he does this. So simply does not. Okay, here you go. I love this. I think the main concentration for Nikon this year is a long wait list for the Z9 cameras. Nikon simply does not have the production capacity to announce another camera. Now, his take. You can no longer use the previous Nikon release schedule. Oh, heard that before, haven't you? I've said that. There's no more, get off this. Well, it's a 2-year, 3-year cycle or whatever. No, times have changed, and it looks like Nikon's beginning to change a little bit, and that's good for all of us. You no longer use the previous Nikon release schedule as an indication to predict the future product announcements. Absolutely. We've been saying that. We may see a new camera announcement towards the end of the year. Heard that? When all Z9 orders are fulfilled. I don't think it'll be before. It has to be after the Z9 orders are fulfilled. And I'm not buying the low production capability. Yes, they're not as robust as maybe the other manufacturers, but I think that there is production left on the table here that can be used. They're dropping other DSLRs, they're dropping lenses, all these different things that are going DSLR, as far as the DSLR line and F-mount lenses are concerned, the capacity for those is diminishing. Nikon's finally decided to start dropping some of these models, versions, and everything else. That frees up the opportunity to produce more in the Z series or mirrorless series. So, what else we got? Nikon Z70. Again, another guess with a set of made-up specs. Thank you. New DX format BSI stacked CMOS sensor, XP 7 image processor, AI-based subject detection and tracking, image stabilization, yes, sensor shift 5-axis, UHD 4K video recording, 2.36 million dot OLED electronic viewfinder, 11 frames per second mechanical shutter, 20 blah, blah, blah. NR's take. I think there's a very small chance for a new high-end APS camera, but I seriously doubt it will happen given the latest developments in the industry. Fujifilm got a big chunk of the APS-C market. Even Sony appears to be pulling out of it. Okay, so my take on that, and we've talked about it before, if there's going to be a APS-C camera, another one, it's going to be a prosumer level APS-C camera. That's my thoughts. And I'm going to jump over here and check all the...
Well, I don't think they should concentrate on APS-C, man. Honestly, like I know a lot of guys want a D500 replacement for mirrorless. I know that's, that request is there for a lot of people. But I think they should just concentrate on full frame, man. Like, honestly, they have the ZFC, which is a great camera. The Z50, they locked that in. Whoever wants that kind of camera, they can buy the ZFC.
Yeah.
As far as pro level, high speed with Z9 focus on a pro body with an APS-C, does that make sense?
Well, I talked about this, a couple of months ago. I think that there is a niche in there for the pro body, prosumer APS-C camera. I do. But what was I going to say? But, now is not the time to do it. If they were going to do it, my opinion, if they were going to do it, they should have done it with the announcement with the Z9, just like they did with the D5, D500. However, they missed that chance, or they skipped that opportunity and didn't. But I do think that they will come out with a prosumer APS-C camera body. I don't know when, but now is not the time. I agree. It's not the time to do that. They could fool us all and do it, but I don't think this is the right time. I'm going to stick to my guns on what I think they need. The Z9 is not the bring Nikon out of the ashes. It is not. It's a fantastic camera, and everybody's raving about it. Even the critics are finding it hard to be too critical on the camera, but it's a flagship camera. And even though it's cheaper than most flagships at $5,500, it's still outside the budget for the majority of the Nikon shooters that are waiting for what? That D850 replacement. And I think that has to be the next camera. Nikon's got.
So what Nikon needs to do is, like you said, Chuck, fill in that R5 rival.
Yes.
And that's the one we need, because most people are going to buy the R5 Nikon.
If you think it's hard to get your hands on a Z9, wait till that camera comes out.
Yeah, remember the DSLR Canon days? Most people were using the 5D Mark III, 5D Mark IV. They didn't have the 1DX Mark II or 3.
Yeah.
The 5D was it for a lot of professionals and consumer hobbyists. That was a hit camera. So Nikon needs to fill in that D850, I guess, replacement, but it's got to be the R5 rival.
Yes. And then we get into the discussion, is the Z7 II that camera to compare to? No, it's not. I'll tell you right now, it is not. And I know that hurts people's feelings. While it's a great camera, you know what? It's better suited for video. Well, wait a minute before everybody starts throwing fiery darts at me here. It's very good at video. On the still side, it's still lacking. And I know everybody hoped for a firmware update that's going to bring it up to date as far as the AF, maybe better AI in the AF. I don't know. There's no guarantee. Nikon never promised it. And now think about this. Everybody's saying, well, the Z7 III. What are we going to do with the Z7 III? I mean, what are they going to do?
Nothing.
Then, put in the AF that they left out of the Z7 II because they just weren't ready with the algorithm and processing power. And then everybody talks about, well, they can't get chips. No, that's not true. They may be harder to come by, but chips are available. All the other camera manufacturers, yes, they have some delays in their deliveries, but they're still making these cameras, new bodies that are going out there. And you know what? They're available. Those cameras, not off the shelf, but they're not too far down the wait list to get those cameras for Sony and Canon. So what would the Z7 III? It has to be a total revamp of a camera. Are they going to do that with the Z7 series?
No, they're not.
No,
I agree with
that's
you.
the Z8.
I think I agree with your talk with Ryan last time, with the Z6 being like a good video camera option. Make a Z6 III, but let the Z8 rock and roll. And also, Nikon should concentrate, not to change the topic real quick, but Nikon should concentrate on lenses. They should come out with an f2 zoom lens.
Yeah. No, I agree. And you know what? That may be down the road too. I think Nikon's just trying to catch up and get, I use this analogy or metaphor all the time. You got to fill the team before you fill the bench. You can't have a basketball team with 3 players and put people on the bench, start filling the bench. So they've got to get the team full so they can start working on the bench. For me, the bench is all those niche lenses. Not everybody's going to buy. They're great lenses. They're fantastic lenses, but not everybody has a need for them. And, you've got people out here in the Nikon community already. They're yelling for I'm going to say it anyway, because I speak my mind. They're yelling for a stupid DF type camera already, a full frame ZFC, not a ZFC, ZFF, whatever you're going to call it. You know what? Not now. That's a niche camera. Nikon can't afford to be building niche crap right now. They got to build things that sell and bring them back truly from the ashes and get back some of that market share. And everybody says, well, what's so big deal? Well, do you want Nikon to become a niche brand like Leica? No, I don't. And, it takes money for R&D and everything else. And I've said this over and over. Let's get the profits up, giving people what they want first, not the minority of people, but the bulk of the people. And a Z8 right now, being a competitor to the R5, the A7S3, A7 IV, that is the camera that needs to be out there right now. And are we going to see it right now? No, we're not going to see it right now. But if it's in the mix, the leaks need to start. Nikon needs to start dropping some leaks and letting people know. I just saw another person. Now, is he just talking? Maybe. Say that I can't afford to wait for 5 months for a Z9. So I'm already looking at maybe going to the Sony A1. You can go over there, find him in the comments and argue with him all day long. I understand his frustration, and he's absolutely right. And Nikon needs to address this. If Nikon would just tell us something, give us a leak, something that we can latch onto, you're going to have people that are more likely and willing to say, okay, I believe it now. Right now, who believes Nikon is going to build that camera?
I
I do,
believe. Well, I don't
but
know.
most people aren't like me. They don't go on gut feeling. They want tangent facts. They don't want just a gut feeling. And Nikon should be supplying that, and they don't. All right.
The
I'll shut up my rant
Z50,
for a minute.
the
Go ahead.
Z52, if they were to upgrade the AF and upgrade that APS-C, I see a Z52. You know, the ZFC is already a niche camera. That just leave that alone. But as far as full frame, man, that Z8 needs to come out and needs to be a really, really great camera with amazing video and autofocus. So as far as the lens development, hey, what's going on with the 400Z, man? I heard there's some delay on that lens coming out.
I haven't seen that yet.
I saw one guy in India. He made a video on it. I was like, whoa, he got his hands on it.
Well, there are a few. There are actually several that are out in the wild now. I mean, I,
Nothing
yeah,
in the U.S. though.
yeah, even here. I can't. I saw somebody. It was over on Facebook, Nikon Z9 Pro or something like that. Somebody's got their hands on it here.
Oh, they have one.
Yeah, I mean they're out. They're for sale, and as they're being manufactured, I guess they're sending them out to the field, out to retailers. Now, of course, all of them are spoken for up front, as you might imagine, even though it's a $14,000 lens.
Yeah. That's
Hey, Ike, where'd you go, buddy? If you're still in here listening, standing by for you, man. If you're having a problem, just let me know and we'll see if we can figure it out real quick. So, yeah.
Now, since the Z Glass is really good and does really good autofocus with video and amazing quality, what do you guys think of the idea of coming out with their own little cinema camera, like an FX3 Sony rival?
I think it's a great idea. I'm an advocate of it, but first, I'm hesitant to even talk about it anymore and get the juices going on that. Not that Nikon's going to listen to that and say, okay, we're going to switch production. I think it's a great idea down the road that Nikon should have their own little affordable line of cine lenses because they're doing so well with the Z mount and have a very video centric camera, because then you can get away from all the people that, well, I don't want video in a camera anyway. Well, let's give the video people a very video centric camera and a set of cine lenses. But first, again, I mean, I'm not gonna let up on the fact that until they get that D850 mirrorless out there, the R5 competitor, until they get that out there, that's all I'm going to harp on, because that's what they need next. You have so many people that want the Z9, but they're not going to buy it, and they're waiting for the camera that I'm talking about.
But do you think
It'll
that
be
kill?
impossible to get your hands on that camera initially.
Do you think that will affect the Z9 sales?
No, that's the problem. He's going to talk about that in this post in a minute, which I'm glad somebody's finally saying. I don't know where that crap comes from. Well, first of all, the FTZ3, talking about, no, sorry, folks, get over that. It ain't happening. Take your D lenses, your screw drive lenses, and keep a DSLR and have a ball with them, or put them on mirrorless cameras and manual focus. I'm sorry. I'm tired of even entertaining that idea. Now, people may get mad at me, but let's get over it. It ain't happening, okay? There is no screw mount magic adapter coming from Nikon. Why would they? Not for just 18 people. They're not going to do it. So let's get over that. Let's see. So anyway, sorry, I hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings with that, but that's just the way it is. It ain't happening. Okay, so what we're going to talk about? I get
Hey,
mad
by the
when
way,
they-
guys, I want to ask the chat. Anybody selling their 1424 Z lens in here? If anybody's selling that lens, let me know.
All right.
I'm interested.
Uh,
I need a wide angle lens, Chuck. I sold my wide angle.
yeah. Well, you got two choices there in the Z line.
Well, no, I had the one choice. I sold it. So
Oh,
the
that's right.
14
Yeah. You did. Why'd you
Yeah.
do that?
I don't know. The guy offered me 1,000. I said here
All
because
right.
I knew I wanted the 1424 anyway. So there's no point in having two of those wide angle lenses around. So if anybody wants to sell me theirs, and you're not really using it, I'm really interested.
Yeah, Jaspreet, he just commented on the Cine camera. Yeah, not the box, not the cube. That's not what I'm talking about, but very video centric, and you can put that in a more reasonable package, and Nikon can do that. And I think that's what they need to do. As a matter of fact, and we were talking the other day, I like the idea of let's take the Z6 and the Z7 and morph them into what they should be rather than trying to rebuild one. And what do you do with the other? So let's give us a Z6 II with 33 megapixel, a new sensor, and it's video centric, and it's there for the uber low light. Give it great dynamic range, and make that the Cine camera. And then the Z7. We've done it before. Nikon's done it before with the D800, D800E, and Canon's done it with the 5D SR and 5D, whatever. I don't know. But a high megapixel version of it and a lower megapixel version of it. If Nikon wants to keep those bodies in line, then maybe that's how they salvage them. Or they become, you already have the Z7 priced at $3,500 new. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do with that camera body? You're going to have to reduce the price of it or give it a totally different use. So I don't know. Nikon, in my opinion, kind of painted themselves into a corner in this initial burst of what they did in the mirrorless world with the Z6, Z7, and then working on the APS-C camera version, the low priced full frame version. I think they're all good cameras, but I just don't know where they go from here. There's so many, different branches that they can splinter off and go with these cameras, and which way will they go? And oh, by the way, we have a number we haven't used yet, Z8, that we all think is going to be the prosumer level full frame body. What do you guys think? And I'm going to start addressing some of your comments, and you can check them out there too, Vahagen, and let's start talking about it, see what everybody else thinks. I'm not buying the production thing. I'm not buying it until somebody can give me concrete evidence of here are the facilities that Nikon owns for manufacturing. We have a couple of ideas, but show me where they're out of space. They're out of manufacturing space. I don't buy it. Okay. And especially with dumping some of the DSLRs and lenses and things like that, I think it's freeing up space. Yes, they have to retool. I get that. Maybe they've been doing that, considering Nikon. Hey, we got another member here. You there?
Hello.
Mr. Ike. Oh, Mr. Ike.
Sorry, I got you talking in the background, and then I have the restream, and I'm like, who am I talking to? Hold
Yeah,
up a
you do,
second.
yeah. You have to shut the volume down on the YouTube
Live stream. Yeah.
Yep.
Now I'm trying to. Here's the screen. Okay, cool. Look at me looking all dark. I ain't got that Vanessa Joy beauty light. I need. Oh, here we go.
No, dude. I'm sorry. Her light can go out, and she's beautiful. I can't see the same about you.
What's up, Ike?
What's up, Vog? I just watched the talk you did with Vanessa last night. By the way, that was a good conversation. That was a good talk.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. What's been up? How's Vegas?
Yeah, you know what? I owe you an apology because I felt like we were talking. You had reached out, and I'm in my head. I was like, yeah, let's connect. And then we were there, and then things went so fast, and I thought that I would hear from you again, but I didn't. Were you there?
No, man.
Oh,
I
okay, all
didn't
right.
go.
I was like, yo, did I
No.
miss Vodka? Because he was like, yeah, we're getting some drinks.
No.
And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. But I'm trying to organize a photo walk, so I was
Next
like,
year. We're
okay,
going
all right,
next
cool.
year. Are you
All
going
right,
next
good.
year?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, Chuck's coming too.
Yeah, I'm going to
Chuck
try to
there?
be there, man. I definitely want to be there.
Chuck, you got permission slip to come outside?
I don't know. Not until I get this house sold and moved.
Right? Exactly.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. Since you guys use the Z9, are you guys experiencing this weird thing with when I was out with Mossman, and Mossman knows, I was using his 100 to 400, and every time I take a picture, it would do something weird on the screen. It's like as if it was like flickering. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah, it has a little shift.
yeah. What's up with that? What is that?
I don't know. Somebody's had a bigger problem along that line and turned off IBIS, and for video on the video side, and that seemed to work. And now some people are talking about, it has something to do with IBIS.
Huh.
So I don't know. Firmware fix.
That's the only issue I have
can't.
with that camera, and the other issue is the card door. It's not really made of flagship quality, but I'm okay with it, I guess.
Yeah, no issues over here. So
yeah,
but I just it's so you would think that like when you use that camera, when you come from like a Z6 or whatever like that, simply to that, you think, oh, it should work the same, and it's not the same. It is the same because the menus all mean the same thing, but the button layout is a little bit different. The way it responds is a little bit different, and so there is some of a learning curve, especially because the autofocus is much more expanded. There's more features now. There's more scenarios that you can use. So before with the Z6 and the Z7, I would either use full area auto for face tracking, eye detect, or I would use single point. And in a full area auto, they don't have the 3, but they have the box that tracks. That worked pretty fine for me. Like people was like, oh, there's no focus point, which is true. I wish there was a focus point, but I would just use the middle button as a focus point and use it as my tracking. Well, this doesn't have that. The Z9 doesn't have that anymore. It has the 3D tracking thing, which works as a focus point / face detect, or you can use the face detect. And so I had to get used and kind of learn because I had a muscle memory and a workflow with the Z6 and Z6 II, and even the Z5 that had to change for the Z9. So I had to kind of like relearn how to use the camera in the best scenarios and like which autofocus mode will work good for me, and the buttons and the control because the layout's a little bit different. So it took a little time to get used to. I think I've starting to finally like get it, but I was more concerned about learning the camera than figuring out what didn't work.
Yeah. Hey, you guys carry on for a second. I'm gonna run in here. I gotta go pick something up. Heavy box. I gotta fold laundry. Okay.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. I'll be right back.
No,
you got
but
another Z9.
Right. No, but like when they were talking earlier about just a little while ago about the adapting lenses and stuff like that, and I'm like, yo, first of all, nobody wants to adapt anymore. Like native is the way to go. The only reason you adapt is if you have to adapt. And 2, Nikon is just not. It's not in the cool kids category. They're not in the cool kids category. And Nikon is expensive. They're not cheap. They're not the cheap brand. I'm starting to realize, like, with this with the introduction of the Z system, and I talked to Chuck about like there's no like entry level market for it. But even if you were to pick up the Z5, which is around, you can get it for like around $1,000. Your option, of course, is Viltrox. It's Viltrox, and then now Young Newell. But outside of those few lenses, there's not any budget zoom lenses. Like even that 17 or what is it 28 to 75 is $1,100, which isn't budget. That's not budget because the Tamron, when the Tamron came out with their G2, I think the Tamron was like $900 or something like that. So
anything over $1,000.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I really like what See, the Canon had that f2, but it's expensive, right? How much is that Canon 28 to 70 f2?
$3,000.
Oh wow,
It's $3,000.
that's expensive for a
It
zoom lens.
is. I was at an event last night. Actually, I was at an event and I was playing with a GFX 100S last night, and there was a guy right next to me. He had a 28 to 70 f2 on Canon R5. Now you think I'm thinking, man, that lens is crazy expensive, but when it's a 70 to 200 right here.
Yeah, that's
This
$3,000.
is pretty, yeah. So I mean,
Yeah. Same thing with the the one I want to buy, 1424Z. That
yeah.
lens is $2,600 out the door.
So I mean, you're gonna end up spending that if you're buying that kind of glass for that kind of. I mean, it's expensive, and I always joke that like if I shot Canon, that would be my promised land is that 28 to 70 f2. Like that's the lens I'm shooting for. That's what I'm saving for. That's my gusto. That and an 85-1.2, and I'm done.
Yeah, or maybe a 7200.
Yeah, 7200. Yeah, sure.
But
and the 16 to 35. All right, this one.
yeah,
It's 16 to 35, 15 to 35, 2.8, 28 to 70 f2, 85 1.2, and then a 70 to 200. And I probably wouldn't even use the 70 as much. I have those three lenses for weddings: 85 1.2, 28 75, 16 to 35. Easy.
You'd probably adapt a longer lens if you needed.
Yeah, and
it's cheaper.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's another point. Like, I saw this video where a guy he adapted the old Canon 51.2, and then he had the new 51.2, and he was like, "Yo, the new 51.2 is really sharp. It's really nice, but the old 51.2 adapted performs much better and is much closer to the new 51.2 than it would be if you shot the old 51.2 on a 5D Mark IV."
Yep.
Because the focus is much more accurate, it's much more pinpoint, and so like a lot of old Canon shooters were scared to shoot at 1.2 because of the focus on a 5D Mark II, 5D Mark III. But with an R5, R6, you're getting pinpoint accurate autofocus, so you're actually really getting the true glory of the lens. And it's not the most sharpest one at 1.2, but that's character. That's when you get into the character argument and things like that.
That's what I'm hearing about the 105-1.4 E lens. Adapted.
Oh, the old school, yeah.
No, it's actually not that old, but it's a F mount.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 105-1.4 E, and I'm hearing that lens.
You're talking about
the Nikon.
Screw mount. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing that lens performs better with an FTZ adapter than on a DSLR.
I can't say I used it once on the D850 and I loved it, and then I used it on my DSLRs and I loved it. So I can't say because I haven't used it as much, but any lens
lens, man.
Any lens is going to work better, in my opinion, adapted on a mirrorless than it would on a DSLR. They all. So that's also another narrative that like I think is kind of stupid. They're like, oh, I think I saw Jared Poland. He was like, I feel like the Nikon adapted lens, it doesn't work as good. The Nikon adapter is not as good as the Canon adapter. That's a lie. Maybe the Nikon lenses don't perform as because the Nikon lenses don't perform as good as the Canon lenses because the Canon lenses are like newer technology, even in the EF lenses. But the Nikon lenses perform just as good, if not better, on a DSLR, on a mirrorless than they ever did on any DSLR. So,
yes, they do.
So that argument, like that is not a very fair argument to be like, I just don't want to adapt because I don't want to adapt. That's it. I don't want to adapt. And the new S lenses are better than the F mount. Any comparable one is better. So like,
yeah, I agree. I'm shooting with the 24 to 70 G or E. It's the E, the newer one, with the FTZ on the Z9. It's fantastic.
Well, there's no comparable lens to the 105, the 200 f2, the 300, 400. Well, not 300. Well, the 400. Well, now there is, but not the 600. So, hey, Chuck, can I reply on this chat, on this restream?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you reply to people?
You just type at the bottom. You should have a...
Okay, I don't know. I'll figure it out.
I have both screens up. I should bring a light. I look like I'm a silhouette with all this darkness. Stupid camera's not exposing for. And I wore my Z shirt that I got from.
I see that.
Let me move the mic out the way. Okay, you see it. I got to lose a few weight before I wear it on camera on real life. I got
or you can just send it to me.
You're right.
Hey,
extra large.
Ryan started my challenge, dude.
You said what?
Ryan started my challenge.
Wait, what's this challenge?
My diet challenge.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on it too.
I've been back in the gym. My diet is not, it's not an A1, but I'm in the gym. So I am working out again. So
yeah. Hey, next year the goal is WPPI.
Bro, I look at my old videos, I'm like, dang, I've gained weight. And then like, I don't know if you ever seen the Angry Photographer? If you actually go back to the Angry Photographer's old video, he was like the size of Chuck when he first started.
Yeah.
Now he's like, well, he's bigger now. Body positivity. But yeah, he gained a lot of weight sitting in that chair in that basement.
I'm trying to pick up weight, man.
Yo, Angry is skinny. He was super skinny. So, but what are people saying? Because I was like, the chat was going and I was getting hype. I was like, yo, put me in the stream, Chuck. I need to respond back. Oh, Jaspreet was saying something about filmmaking and lenses and stuff. And I'm like, yo, Nikon's not cool. Yo, everybody, we're all old. Like, I'll be 39 this year. Like, Chuck, what you turn like 33, 34? Chuck?
Yeah, twice that.
Yeah, right. But like everybody's old. So you even think about the audience here. Like everybody's 30 plus.
Hey man, 40 is the new 20.
Yeah, well. And with that comes more established income. So I started shooting when I was like 28, 29. There's no way I could afford we barely even afford a Z6. 2 of them, let alone 1. And so now I have a Z9. It's my first flagship I've ever bought from Nikon. And I have a Z9. So like, but I'm almost 40 years old. So of course, over the years, I've acquired more money and I can pick up, 70 to 200s and 24 and all that. I have all of the S primes except for the 1.8. So I can afford that stuff now, but also make a good amount of money. Like if you're under 30, you can't afford Nikon. Really? It's expensive. Unless you go Viltrox, third party.
Well, the good thing is we sold a lot of G lenses, some of photographers, to afford all the Z glass.
Exactly. Like, but you already acquired a bunch over the years to have that. If you're 28 years old and you're just picking up and, Nikon's like $600 for a 1.850, even though it's worth it, or Tamron's like, or Viltrox is like, give us 300 and, we got you. Like, what?
Yeah. You get 1/3 the price. And then you have to put in the rest. You know what I mean? When you sell those G lenses or the F-mount lenses. The market is soft right now, man.
Yeah. That and like, what was I going to say? Like, I was arguing going back and forth over it. Now, I will say with third party, even with Viltrox, third party lenses are better. They're better quality in 2022 than they were in 2002 and even in 2012. Like the quality that you get. I remember Sigma had a stigma, okay, of being like not very great. But now Sigma, some people prefer Sigma, even the Sony, over the G Masters. Like they're like, yeah, no, the Sigma's better than GM. And in some cases it is, but back in the day, that would have never been the case. You would have never bought a Sigma.
I think we get wrapped around the axle on charts and whatnot. And even Seth said that the other day in one of his videos when he's talking about the Z9. He said, I used to be hung up on charts and, well, I still look at them, but I'm beginning to wonder, why do we look at them so much? Because you pick the glass up, you shoot it, and you think, well, what's wrong with this? That's third party and everything else. But we get so wrapped around the axle on it's bragging points is what they want.
Bro, so if you saw the video I did a video with Taylor Jackson where I made that whole point and I made fun of it. I was like, yo, these white guys get up here and they sit behind the desk and they say, look at the corners right here. And the vignetting in the corners is not that great if you stop down. And I'm like, I'm not shooting at f4 because I want to get rid of vignetting. I'm shooting at f4 because I want more depth of field.
Right.
If I'm shooting at 1.8 or 1.2, then vignetting it's the cost to be the boss, but it adds some some character to my pictures anyway, so I don't get caught up in the vignetting. And
have you noticed that? Have you noticed that photographers like they spend more time talking about all that other stuff than creating capturing like beautiful shots and
Bro.
telling a story.
Yeah.
I was going back and forth with a guy over the Viltrox 20 because he was saying, so Profoto has said there is no third-party support. And I'm like, that's technically a lie because Viltrox has like 3 or 4 or 5 lenses.
Yeah.
There is third-party support, right? So even if you can't afford, and I tell people that this Viltrox 24 1.8, I prefer over my native. The native 24. I own the Nikon native, right? So this is the right here. This is the native one with no. Oh, this is the 85. Sorry.
Hey, is anybody
It's a beautiful lens.
has anybody made the comment yet that Sony is nothing but third-party lenses?
Yeah, well, true. That's true.
Tell me
Anyway.
a Sony lens, an actual Sony produced lens.
Those GMs, the GMs and the FEs are good. The Sony FEs are good, and the Sony makes the GM lenses, which are good. But my point was that, like, pretend like that was I prefer shooting the Viltrox over my Nikon because the Viltrox is a little bit smaller. It's just as sharp, and the autofocus is just as good. Now, like I said, I shoot this stuff in real life, and when I'm looking at the photos, I can't tell the difference. And if I can't tell the difference, they won't be able to tell the difference. So I'm like, yeah, I'll rock the Viltrox all day long. And this is a third-party lens. And this is less than half the price of the Nikon 24.
Right.
I keep saying, I joke that like, yo, if this would have came out before the Nikon did, I would have brought this because I spent $1,000 on the Nikon 24. I don't regret it. I'm not selling it. You can't have it. No, thank you. But I actually like using this a bit more. This is just more, it's just easier. Look how small this fits in my hand. I can palm it. Like the 24, it's too big. So I just keep it here, collect dust, but it ain't going nowhere.
Again, is it this, Ike? Is it just they're always looking for something to drag Nikon down? I mean, it's just like, and I hate guys that do reviews and they're talking about something like, well, the door's a little hard to get open. Okay, all right.
You know, so I was on my live stream and I was in a tangent the other day and I was talking about other YouTubers. And I brought up Manny's review because he did a review on the Nikon Z9.
Yeah.
And I didn't, all respect to Manny for anything somebody starts running their mouths. He's cool. That's the homie. Like, I love Manny. But he had made some points that, like, I realized that, like, his critiques were, one, when you got to make content and you got to fill a time slot, you got to say something, right? So you got to make up something to say. And a lot of his critiques were critiques of somebody who has the luxury of saying, well, compared to this one, most of us in the chat can't say compared to that. We pick our side, and that's our side. So if you pick Canon, you're a Canon shooter. If you pick Nikon, you're a Nikon shooter. If you pick Sony, and you just play within that realm. But a lot of these, more established YouTubers who have an audience, who when they say things, it moves mountains, like the Mannies, the Froes, the Tony and Chelsea's. When they say, well, we got the Z9 and we put it next to the Canon, in our opinion, the door in the Canon is a little bit easier to open. Is that going to make or break your purchasing decision? No. But we got to say it because, we would like it if, or, the button's not as tactile as I like it to be. That's not going to make or break. Oh, here's the 24 right here on this. Yeah. My point is that, like, the things that matter should be the things that should be highlighted. Not like, well, I don't, the grip's not as deep enough. I like the grip deeper on the camera. Like, who's going to buy a camera because of the grip? Like, that's it. Like, if it can it focus? Is the picture quality good? Is it good dynamic range? To me, those are the things that should matter most. And if that stuff is good, then it's a good camera. But when you have to, like, say, well, when I had it on my tripod, the IBIS acted a little funny. But, you can fix it. Okay, cool. End of story. Like, that shouldn't be a point of contention. Well, I just noticed that the IBIS and in my other cameras didn't do that, because we can't say that. I can't say, oh, in my Canon R5 it doesn't do that, because I don't have a Canon R5. So if you're telling me that the IBIS acts funny on a tripod, does it work when you cut it off? Okay, cool. So if you cut the IBIS off, that solves the problem. Okay, good. Then that's not an issue then.
Right.
But I think that guys like that, having used the camera extensively and, spent the time just using it and, just seeing what it is. Like, I bring up Omar Gonzalez all the time, and Fuji, right? But then now he's picking up a Nikon and he's using it extensively, and he's really getting to see the beautiful images that Nikon creates. And he's an example of actually buying the gear and using it for jobs.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
he can I trust his word because he's using the damn thing, not just
Yep.
talking head on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Omar, shout out.
I just get tired of all the criticizing, all the little things, just like you're talking about, Ike. It gets ridiculous. And the fact that the same issues may apply to Canon or Sony.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody harps on those, it's like, no, we're not going to talk about that. And if that's all you have, I wish people were smart enough, and I hate to say it that way, but I really do wish people were smart enough to say, well, wait a minute. Is that a reason, just like you said, not to buy the camera? Or who cares? Who cares if the dimpling on the grip is different or whatever? Yeah, those are things to consider in the long run, whatever you want or whatever. But how about what does the camera do? Let's just, as a reviewer, let's talk about what the camera does, how it works, how it performs, and let people decide on their own about the dimpling on the grip or the battery latch or the whatever. That's ridiculous. And if that's all they can find, why do they bring it up with just Nikon? 90% of the time, it's not mentioned with the other brands. To me, that's just, again, do they want Nikon to go away? I mean, honestly, I feel like sometimes it's like they win or something. Like, we won, we got rid of Nikon. What is the whole purpose of it?
Like I said, as a content creator, I get it, because I'm like, well, you're trying to create content. You're trying to say things that'll draw up attention, and like, regardless of whatever the repercussions are from you, trying to be a sensationalist or whatever the repercussions. So, we always bring up Jared Poland because he's one of the loudest critics. He's one of the not the only critic, but he's one of the loudest critics of Nikon. And most of his criticisms, although sometimes can be fair, it's like they say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I always make this point that, like, okay, so let's say Nikon's focusing is not the best, right? Of all three that could be behind, it's not quite there, or whatever the case may be. If every time you're saying, yeah, because it sucks, that's what people hear. And when people hear it sucks, that's what they walk away with. It sucks.
Yep.
They don't walk away with, well, it just needs a little more work, or you have to try a little bit harder, or you have to be a little bit more hands-on. Like, if I pick up the Sony and it's automatically going right to the eye, with the Nikon, you might need to push a few buttons, but it's still going to get you the same shot. You just might have to try a little bit harder, but they don't hear that. They hear it sucks. And I make the same point. I'm like, yo, if I saw somebody who was overweight, like, so Vahagan, right? No offense. You trying to lose weight. If every time I said, hey, Vahagan, you're looking a little chubby there, like, that would be kind of like annoying for me to say that every time I saw you, versus like, oh, you losing a few pounds? Okay, keep up the good work. I'm saying the same thing. Oh, you've lost a few, that means you have weight to lose. If I'm saying, oh, I see you losing a few weight, great job, like, keep up the good work, that means you still have a ways to go, but I'm acknowledging that you're making progress. I've seen the progress you made. Keep up the good work. You haven't gotten there yet, but keep it up. Yeah. Versus, yo, when are you gonna lose the next? When are you gonna drop 20 pounds, bro? Like, you're still in an extra large. It's saying the same thing, but in a different way. And so that's how you, yeah.
Well, you can say the baby's ugly without saying the baby's ugly.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm different, but that just puts more fire in my soul. You know what I mean? When people do that. So,
yeah, but that also creates a perception that you're a fat ass.
Yeah,
that's not cool. That's not cool.
I'm going to defend Jared Poland for 1 second and say that he does it for his show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it, but it's his platform. He can do what he wants. I'm going to complain about it, but then again, I'm giving him free advertisement by complaining about it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, that's his goal, is to build that channel, to 5 million subscribers. Unfortunately for us, or a lot of people, he's he's so influential that a new kid just coming in thinking I'm going to get into videography or whatever, they're going to listen to him over anybody else.
Yep.
And and now here's my point. He doesn't care that he's influencing people that way. That's what aggravates me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's like all. I have an I Shoot Raw shirt. I just brought a shirt. Like I support the guy. I support his channel. I watch his videos. So don't think that I'm talking all this mess and that I've given him money. Okay, so when you spend money, you really show where your heart is. I've spent money with the guy. So don't get me wrong. Like I enjoy what he's doing, and he's helped me. He's influenced me to buy lenses in the past, but also like nobody's big enough to above reproach to where I can't say, hey, like, you kind of spreading a little bit, being a little sensationalist, maybe a little bit misinformation, and maybe you're like leading people down the wrong path, and you creating a narrative that doesn't really help anybody, right? Like, so Vahagan, like maybe if somebody talks down to you, that might inspire you to go harder and come back and lose weight. But like for a major, Fortune 500 company, that creates a stigma that affects them differently than an individual. Like, yeah, I'm going to go and lose this weight. Next time you see me, you're not going to say nothing. That doesn't help a company who's trying to sell cameras to, amateurs and things like that, saying, oh, yeah, because now you get people to say, oh, I was skeptical about a Nikon Z6 II, but it's actually really good. I'm like, yo, why would you be skeptical? Because the stigma and the narrative is that like they're not that good, or like, they suck, or they're the worst of the bunch. And then when people try them, they're like, oh, I was so surprised that they're so good. But nobody says I bought an A7 IV and I was surprised how well it worked. They don't buy R5 and say, oh, I'm surprised how good the R5 is. They buy it and that's it. But everybody's surprised when they get the Nikon. So
yeah. Yeah, him, Jared, and a few other YouTubers are the king of misleading titles.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, the clickbait titles, no doubt about it. But then again, half of me still says it's his channel, and it's all about it's not about his photography. It's not about his business of photography or videography. It's all about the channel, and that is his business. And
like he had one the other day, Nikon will kill you or something like that. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you gotta love that.
What the hell was that, man?
Hey, some people, I mean, we can look at it and we can laugh it off and say, hey, it's funny game. But some people take his word to gospel. Like I saw somebody comment, I think on Ryan Choi's, it was like, yeah, I'm waiting to see what Jared Poland says before I buy. And I'm like, that's crazy. Like this guy is the bar for you. Like what he says is what goes. Now, granted, you can't go wrong with anything. So if he says buy the Sony, you're not going to go wrong with the Sony. But dang, that's kind of how. That's kind of influence he has.
Yeah, he was talking about magnets in the 400Z and how the pacemaker will affect that, and he's just trying to be funny, and somebody might read the title and say, "Shit, I'm not gonna buy a Nikon now."
Yeah, right.
Older gentleman or whatever, that's not gonna affect anything, man.
Hey, like Chuck said, if I die with my Nikon in my hand, just know he's gonna put this 400 in his pacemaker. He's gonna die like this. His last words. Oh man.
Nah.
All right, so we know Nikon's going to bring out a couple of cameras or something. Something's happening this year. It has to, again, my opinion, but something's happening. What are those two cameras going to be? Let's just go around the horn with you guys. What do you think those two bodies are going to be? Go ahead, Ike. Yeah. They've listed two new cameras or two camera bodies. Now, whether we'll see or hear about them this year, who knows? I think we will. But what do you think those two bodies are?
So I think, I'm not sure who had this conversation. I think it was Ryan Choi with you, Vahagan, or maybe you, Chuck, or somebody. And Ryan was like, he was talking about how Nikon came out with the Z6 and the Z7 II, and that they need to drop the Z7 and go to the Z8, but keep the Z6. And I started listening. I was like, yo, he's got a good point. Like, I get why they introduced the Z7 and the Z6. It's kind of like the twin bodies, like, right. 45 meg versus 24. But now that the brand has matured a little bit, they can have the Z5. they can come out with a Z8 that's like a R5-esque type of camera, and then they can come out with a Z6 III, which is like a R6-esque type of camera. Because what Canon did is like the R6 and the R5 are the same, but they are not, because there are some differences in the bodies. Like the R6 is almost like a prosumer body with like high-end internals, whereas the R5 is a high-end body with high-end internals. Like it has the top dial and all that stuff. Whereas the R6, you don't get that top dial, which is no big deal, but that does matter to people. I'm like, oh, it doesn't have the top dial. Like that's a lesser feature. So you could say that the R6 body costs less to make, and it has the internals of like a high-end pro camera. And I think Nikon might want to go in that direction, whereas like the Z8 may be something like a Z7, but then maybe like the Z6 III, I don't know, maybe they do something with the Z8 where it's like a little bit thicker, like a different body style, not something that adds more to it, but separates it so that when I pick up a Z, if I'm looking from a distance and I see a Z7 and a Z6, like they don't look the same. There's some kind of difference that like makes them, like I can tell, oh, that's an R5 or that's a R6 because it's on the top screen or something like that. But I think that they whatever it needs to be, it needs to have the autofocus, the Xpeed 7 processor in there, and it needs to do at least 4K 60 in an internal RAW, not RAW, sorry, internal log.
Yeah. Okay. So well, I don't know which two bodies are they though that are being announced. What do you think? So we already have the 6, 7, 9, 5, 50 or whatever ZFC. 2 new bodies. What do you think they are? Or is it an upgrade of any one of those?
They just came out with the ZFC. The Z50 is still a great camera, and they could stand to like lose. And like, what sensor are they going to use though? So in my mind, I'm thinking it's like a new full frame, like a Z8 or a Z6 III. You know, maybe using that Sony 33 megapixel sensor, or keeping the 45 megapixel sensor, the Z9, and putting it in a cheaper, you know. If they want to make a strong comeback and get some sales back, they have to come something in that $2,000 to $3,000 mid range. So whatever it is, it's hard for me to guess based on, but I would say it's going to cost between $2,000 and $3,500. That's my guess. Between $25 and $35.
Yeah. How about you, Vahagan?
Well, I agree with the R5 thing. The R5 rival camera that Ike said. I think they should come out with a beast of another flagship with a lower megapixel count that's like fast and super low light.
So what do you think these 2 cameras that are listed now, the new cameras that are listed, what do you think they're going to be?
Probably a Z8. I'm not sure. Where are they listed at?
Nikon Rumors.
Oh.
They're already, well, not on Nikon Rumors. They just showed the information. But there are 2 new bodies that have been, what do they call that? Well, hang on, I'll find out.
The patents? I think they should come out with a camera that's like super sensitive to light, like super, super sensitive to light. And it's, you know.
You know, and I also I hope they come out with like a Z8 rival and a Z, and then that's like, this whole cameras every 2 years is kind of annoying, because it's like,
it is, right?
Come out with something good and just be done. Like this next year we're coming out with something else. It's like, damn, another camera? Jeez.
Yeah.
Like Canon could stand another year with the R5 they just came with the R5C, but they could wait until 2023 to announce another one, and you know, I wouldn't be mad at them for that.
Yeah,
Here you go, Vahagan.
They should definitely come out with something that has autofocus features like a Z9 without a grip, some video features like the Z9. You know, not include everything in the kitchen sink because that won't make sense, but something that's what most videographers are looking for. and and an affordable package because a lot of guys, they don't want to spend $6,000 right now.
Somebody just made a good point. Somebody said a 60 megapixel. I think they had word talks that they had brought the 60 megapixel from Sony, the 62 mega in the R4. So the Z8 could be like a R4S type camera, but just with better autofocus and better video features. Like 30 minutes of 8K, something like that. Because you can get 8K out of a 60 megapixel sensor. I think it's possible. So
well,
that also could be a thing.
Something like that. I mean, yeah, like someone with Z9 characteristics and an affordable price without the grip, but not including everything the Z9 does, obviously. But better battery life, video for 4K, 8K. Hey, by the way, speaking about 8K, those new Macs coming out, man. I don't know about you. Have you ever rendered an 8K clip?
Only the ones I did for that video that I did on my YouTube. I think I've used 8K like 5 times in this camera.
Dude, it takes forever to render a 5-minute clip. Like, I'm talking 2-3 hours on a regular Mac. I have a regular 2018 Mac.
Oh, so I have the M1, so it's not that bad. No. I have the OG M1 MacBook Pro.
Okay, yours is probably half the time mine takes. Yeah, probably. But that new Mac that's coming out with it just was announced or something, man, that's gonna speed up things.
Did you do it in ProRes, Vahagan?
No, I haven't touched that yet. It was just regular 8K, 8265.
ProRes is definitely going to make a difference. Not ProRes RAW. That's still going to be lugging.
And that's another thing. Like they're coming out with an update. An update that says, hey, this camera will also shoot 8K 60 RAW. That's crazy. Like, nobody else is doing
internal.
Now, granted, there's an R5C, but like, this can do it too. Like, this whole Nikon's behind thing is like, what are you talking about?
AI, before the Z9, you were using a Z6, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did you have a grip on it or without the grip?
No, I've always used it without the grip. So here's the thing. When I brought my original Z6, had they would have come out with a grip, I would have a grip on the Z6. But they didn't. And they came out with a battery thing. And that was stupid to me. So I never bought a grip with the Z6 because it was not a grip. It's just extra batteries. A vertical for the shutter because I wanted a shutter on it. Yeah. When the Z6 II came out, well, that's my wife's camera. So me buying a grip for my wife's camera is not going to be very... because she gets mad every time I uses it anyway.
But now using the Z9 with the pro body, ergonomics, doesn't that feel right? I mean, doesn't
I love
feel right? Yeah,
I love that when I turn the camera this way, I can hold it like this. That's amazing.
Yeah, it feels
that bitch is heavy. God damn.
It feels right. I mean, that's just the way I love it. I coming from a D4, it just fit right in my hands like an old glove. But hey, by the way, that D3X, man, I love it. That camera has freaking no video features whatsoever. You turn it on and it's just a stills camera. I just got one,
All right. So your picks for the 2 cameras that are listed that have just been listed online are the Z8, you said, and
Z8
what else?
And probably like a Z, I don't know, ZS.
All right.
No, I don't know, man. That's that second option.
We got our cameras. We're out the game now. We're like, look, Z9 camera. I don't care what you do.
Right? Like, honestly, the Z comes out. I'm not getting it. I mean, I'm not getting it. Yeah.
Well, looking at it, I think one is going to be a lower end camera. I don't mean bad or anything like that, but something in the lower price range. It definitely has Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and everything else, and maybe that's going to be that more entry level camera. I don't know, because again, Nikon said they were going to concentrate on higher end cameras, prosumer level cameras, and things like that. In the upcoming, new birth of the company. So I'm going to go with that. I don't know what it's going to be designated. It could be the Z4 could appear. Who knows? But I think the other has to be the Z8. And I'm just going to continue to speak it into existence because, again, I go back to this is Nikon's, this is what definitely lifts them up out of the ashes, and they need that. A lot of people say, why do you care so much about their market share? Because that's where their R&D money comes from. Not one camera sale, but all camera sales. And the more sales, the more money, the more opportunity for development. Somebody had said earlier about Nikon got rid of so many of their staff and their R&D program has suffered money loss and this and that. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that either. The Z9 is proof that it's still there. It still exists and it's going to continue to go forward, but we need to fund it. And again, that's through sales and that's through, Nikon grabbing back some of their market share. Do I want Nikon to be number one so we can run around beating our chest? No, I don't care. But I definitely want them to be very productive. And I love what I'm seeing coming out of Nikon right now. I mean, we're not hearing a lot, but at least we're seeing it. That's one good thing. Also, I want to jump on one more thing here, and let's see how far this goes. I just recently, over the last month, I downloaded Topaz Noise. I got to tell you, I am impressed. I fell in love with it. Not only does it do extremely well in eliminating noise in a photo, but it also has a sharpening feature within Topaz Noise. And they have a sharpener as well, but I don't think you need that. This program is fantastic. I even went back and found some photos that were like, that's the best I can do. I love the photo, but just missed, it's soft. It just missed focus. And ran it through denoise, and it was incredible the difference when it went through denoise. That's just the sharpening part of denoise. And then using it for some of the noisier photos, it does a fantastic job without making the photo muddy. I mean, that's what we all complain about in like Photoshop and, Adobe Camera Raw and Lightroom is it kind of muddies the photo a little bit to get rid of the noise. Well, Topaz has found a way through AI to eliminate that. So here's my question. Should Nikon look at partnering with somebody like Topaz Denoise or Topaz?
Yes.
And put in-body noise reduction with that AI, because they have the processing power now, with the AI bit to it. We're already seeing AI in camera for subject detection. Should they partner with somebody like Topaz? And it would, maybe it's an added cost in the body that you buy or whatever, but it wouldn't be that much. And then don't worry about ISO so much. Your ISO could be not unlimited, but 25,000 ISO would really not be that relevant with that type of AI in body. So you get it, and of course you have to make it so you can turn it on or off. So my question to you guys is, what do you think? Is that something that Nikon should look at? Is more AI and in the noise reduction?
I'll let you go, Verhagen, first. Oh, never mind. All right, I'll go. He's took too long. Took too long. My turn. He's in the bathroom. No, okay. So that's a great point that you bring up, and a point that I also wanted to bring up. When I was at WPPI, I met because I have contacts with a guy. That's the reason I have the Z5, because I was talking to a guy in PR, and I wanted to like do something like this and talk to him. He was like, "Yeah, no, I'm more behind the scenes, but if you want to submit the questions, we can look at them first." And so it's a whole show and dance trying to talk to Nikon directly, or even from somebody's going to represent Nikon. And I was talking to the guy, and I'm saying, "Yo, Nikon should do this. They should have an Instagram account that they kind of support photographers." So to get to your point, he's like, a very conservative company, and I'm like, dang it, like these Japanese companies, a lot of these companies are very conservative. They're ran by like old heads at the top that feel like this is the way, and it's this way or the highway. And the cool thing about tech companies like a Topaz or like an Apple or even like Sony, because Sony's in the tech, is they are very open to possibilities of what can be as opposed to what is. And so when I was talking to the guy, when he said, "Kim, you funny," when I was talking to the guys, I in my head I was like, "Yeah, I'm telling them what they should do, but how far is that going to go up the chain? Like, am I talking to somebody who's going to say, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to submit it, but they're not going to listen to me because I'm just PR or
Yeah.
I'm just an engineer. Like, because it's a great idea. Like, if they were open to, like, I think Sony had the apps one time in the old can. They got rid of like the Sony apps where you can put apps in the camera because it
Right.
was buggy. But I'm like, that's a great idea because if you could put apps into the camera, if there was like a little firmware where you could like add new additions to the cameras, that would make the cameras even more modular. And then you could do stuff like that. Like maybe it might slow down the buffer if they have to no topaz noise every photo, but just something like that, or if they was able to implement that kind of technology in their JPEG, so that way, like when you shoot to JPEG, it incorporates that because Apple does that, like or
Hmm.
Google. If somebody makes a better program that's going to help their overall mission, they're going to buy the company or they're going to buy the technology, as opposed to
Right.
try to figure out how to make it. Like
Right.
Google couldn't buy Facebook, and they tried to make Google Plus, and you see how that turned out. So
Yeah. So with Topaz. No, you're absolutely right. That would be a trick, wouldn't it? To add that ability to upload, just like LUTs
hmm
or whatever.
Yeah, I'm all
Upload.
for that. They should do that too. I mean, but I think they need to work on a few other things before they're trying to do too much right now. You know?
No, I'm not talking about a firmware update. I'm talking about for a new camera. Coming out with that technology. They've already implemented AI in so many ways in the Z9. Then why not just use the AI that? And look, Topaz found the secret sauce, and they're not letting go of it. I understand that because it's working better than any other denoise program that's out there. So partnering with them or something like that. But the point is, you're not going to be able to, well, I shouldn't say they're not going to be able to develop it. If they could, they would have already done it. And that's where third party, that's all they do in a company like Topaz is concentrate on those specific things. But I just wondered, would that be beneficial, and what would that do to the camera bodies that come out, Nikon brings out, where your ISO is almost irrelevant? And I know that I think Jeffrey just talked about his experience at 12,005. I get that, but can you imagine being able to go 3 or 4 more stops at dusk for wildlife shooters, not worrying about the noise, because within the body you have something like Topaz denoise, and you can turn it off, but it's there to eliminate noise, and you just continue. It just gives you that confidence to continue to shoot further. That's my opinion. I think
Yeah.
that would be one of the next big things. And they have the technology now to be able to make this kind of stuff happen. So,
Well, I'm with Mosman on this. What his comment right there makes a lot of sense. But as long as you could turn that off and not let it affect the camera's processing power, you
Yeah,
know.
that's So he said I'm not a fan of rolling too much AI into the camera. It's too easy for manufacturers to start tweaking image and what's it? Offuse, obfuscating. Okay, obfuscating what the camera does on its
obfuscating, yeah.
own. I get that, and so I think part of the pushback to this idea is that like you start. It's like, hey, we don't have to try as hard because we have this program now. So if you highlight a program that takes away the noise, then it's contradicting how great our camera is at high ISO. So if we're saying, hey, you'll get great images, it'll do low light up to 12,800 really good. But we also have this camera that's going to reduce the noise. It's kind of like, well, what should I do? Do I shoot that high, or do I depend on this program? So I understand that, but there is a happy medium where they can at least maybe not put it in the camera, but just promote it in the software. So if Nikon had their own, I think they have their own processing software where like, hey, and on their website also Topaz denoise works great, because if they promoted these softwares or these things that work great with their cameras and their software, it would also highlight and bring more attention to what you can do to make your images better.
But that's what JPEGs are anyway. They're processed in camera. And I anticipated there are going to be a lot of people that are going to say, so what's next? It carries itself. And okay, that's typical. Anybody that grew up in hard times in photography, meaning you shot film or even early DSLR and everything else, or everything you've been through, Ike and Vahagan, you've been through. I'm not saying you guys are this way, but so many people are. Well, it was hard for me and it's got to be hard for everybody else.
Well,
No, it does not. And, I think one of the great examples of that was Joe McNally. He says it. I saw him in yet another interview. He said it when he was on Vahagan's show that, hey, I embrace all this new technology. No, I don't want to go back to film days. He said the other day, he said, yeah, it's nostalgic for me. I enjoyed it. I did what I did. But are you kidding me? If you could take me back to 1980 and hand me a Z9, I'd say, no, it's too easy. You're crazy. He says, I love all this technology. And I think people are threatened by it because they work so hard to learn all these basics and everything else. And that new technology comes along and it kind of, makes it so much easier. You don't have to deal with so much of that. And they're jealous of it or something. Man, quit being that way. But would AI, since we now have it, would it be, I don't know how much it would steal from the cameras, computing power or anything else. Maybe it would. Maybe that would be an issue. But just the thought of, I can shoot up to 25,000 ISO. And you know what? I can flip the switch in camera and auto noise reduction is going to kick in. Not like what we have now, which I'm sure everybody's not happy with. And that's any brand, the in-body noise reduction. But something that worked along the lines of Topaz, and you get a JPEG that's already had the noise reduced, if you will, or you download the photos, and even within your RAW files, which Topaz works best in the RAW file, by the way. So I don't know. I just thought, could that be another one of those trail breakers for Nikon? They're doing this and nobody else is doing it. So, all right. Just thought I'd throw it out there. And I see Jaspreet, and I agree with him 100%. Nikon needs to embrace Blackmagic RAW.
Yeah, I have a question for Ike. Hey, Ike, you do video with the Z9. So what do you use? What picture profile is your favorite? And
flat.
Do you tweak the settings in that picture profile when you do video?
Nope. I use the flat picture profile and I turn the contrast all the way down and I turn the saturation down by like a notch or two and I turn sharpness down. That's it. And all of that, like the mid sharpening, I turn all that stuff down like to 0 or like -1 or 2. And I just edit that. And I edited the Z6, the Z6 Z6. I shot the exact same way. The only benefit, the cool thing about the Z9 is it's 10-bit instead of 8-bit. So when I go through to fix the file, like edit them or color grade or whatever, it's way more latitude with the 10-bit files in the Z9 than it is in the Z6. So I'm actually able to get better picture because I'm able to tweak the shadows a little bit more before they crush or disappear, or bring the highlights up before they disappear. So I end up with a better picture quality, but I use the same method for both cameras. And part of the reason I used to I used to go as flat as I possibly could. But then when I tried to grade that 8-bit quality, I was like, ew, what was going on with the shadows? So I had to bring the contrast back up because I'm like, yo, if I try to bring the darks in, I'm going to lose the picture. But with the Z9, I can actually do that. But I'm not a big color grader. I just know what looks good. And I'm like, I'll just shoot flat and make sure my exposure is good. I don't need to use log. Like log, it's kind of overrated, I think, for a lot of people. Like, you shooting log in the studio. Like you have control of the lights. Why are you shooting log? The extra dynamic range.
Now you could do 4K 60 and 120. Do you ever do those, or do you still shoot 30?
I do 60 frames per second at the most. 120 is too slow. Like 120 is cute, but it's actually too slow for me. Like now that I've like matured and everything don't gotta be 120 frames, 60 I think is actually more happy medium. 120, if I'm shooting somebody running or something like that or something fast, I need to slow that down because 60 is still too fast if someone's running. But like But 120 is just too slow for most of the stuff because I'm shooting a model that's walking back and forth, or a bride comes down the aisle. Could you imagine a bride come down the aisle at 120 frames per second in slow motion? It take them an hour to get down there. 60 frames is just way more natural. So
And you you edit in your final
Final Cut
product
Pro,
is 30 frames, or you
24. I used to be a 30 frames guy, but then I just switched to 24 frames. But
okay? So you record in 60 and you edit in 24.
yep. But I only do 60 for the moments that require. Like if I'm doing slow motion or something like that, that's 60. Most of my stuff is 24 frames per second.
Oh, so you capture in 24 most
of the time. Yeah, B-roll is 60. All B-roll is 60, but most of the main footage is 24 frames.
Cinematic.
Yeah. But I used to shoot when I first started my YouTube channel, everything was 30 frames per second. And I didn't notice the difference. Then I just said, let me just try 24. And I just stuck with it. But I could easily go back to 30 frames per second and not think twice about it. But I did notice, I think part of it was that, like, I figured if I shot 30 frames per second and then I shot something at 60 frames, you're not able to slow it down as much as if you shoot 24. You get a little bit of extra slow motion shooting 24 frames per second versus 60 than shooting 30 frames versus 60, if that makes sense.
Hey, Jeffrey, I think I know what you're saying about dynamic range of the sensors, but how much change have we seen in the last 15 years? We've seen a change, but it's been very little, very incremental. And if you could have, better sensitivity via better living through drugs, right? If you can have it through AI, then why not? I don't see sensors making a giant leap forward anytime soon. Who knows? You could be right, but I think we're hitting some physical boundaries when we're talking about that in sensor manufacturing and sensitivity.
It's not going to be the sensors that get better. It's going to be computational photography that gets better. Yeah. I always say this right here, this iPhone, like you see how bad I look right here? Hold up, try to bring the iPhone. The iPhone this is not a sensor that's going to be groundbreaking, right? But if I do video on the iPhone and I turn it around, I put it to the camera. Where is it at right here? Oh, it's on selfie mode. Sorry. You see how I'm exposed now and the background's exposed on the camera?
Yeah.
Perfectly. You see how that's computational. You can't tell me that the iPhone has more dynamic range than a Z9. Right. But the computer's so quick that it's exposing both at the same time. I think that's where the new jump in technology is going to be, is computational photography, AI that's going to examine the scene and say, we need to lift the shadows here. We need to bring the highlights down right here and make an image that's a better output.
And you know what? If they come out with that, you're going to have people saying, I don't want the camera making the decision for me. You're going to hear it.
There you go.
So, that's just the way it is. Well, turn it off and you don't have to worry about it. But,
exactly.
Well, I don't even want it in the camera. What is it with photographers? But yeah.
Hey, Ike, do you use the iPhone for B-roll sometimes?
Hell no, I don't use that crap. I don't use the iPhone
at all?
No. Here's the thing. I'm get it by any means necessary. Okay, I get it out the mud. So if I have to shoot I've shot videos with an iPhone, or I've vlogged weddings with an iPhone, and I've shot with a Z9. So what they say, that the best camera is one in your pocket, that's what I do. I'm like, look, if this is what I got, I'll do it. But if I have the option to use something better, I'm always going to use something better. I'm not going to just pick an iPhone just for the novelty of it. No.
I love the iPhone stabilization though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I got a GoPro, like it's the iPhone, but then I bought this too, so
Yeah, you can literally walk with that thing, man. It's crazy.
The more options, the better. But I do like quality. I do appreciate quality. So if I can get a little bit more quality without sacrificing too much convenience, I'm gonna go as big as I can before it gets to that point where it's like, all right, this is too much. So
yeah.
I won't some people like, oh, if it's not 4K log raw footage with an Atomos attached, I'm not shooting the video. That's not me. I'll shoot a video on whatever. I can shoot a video on a Barbie pinhole Lego camera to get the content out. I'm a content first type of guy. But if I have the option for quality, I'll go up as high as quality as I need to. But content first. Content is king. So whatever will get the job done is how I live by.
Hey, you guys, Z9 question for you guys. You guys set the camera to cover the sensor?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Because it's out of the factory, it's not like that. You got to set it.
Yeah,
Right.
I noticed that. Yeah. So I said that.
Absolutely.
That should
That
be a
just-
default.
Yeah. I agree with you. Why would
I'm
you
like,
not want that?
I'm like, is it something like that's gonna like cause it to wear and tear? Because I'm like, why would they not make it automatic? Like that's but,
That's what I'm
whatever.
saying. That's what I thought in the beginning. I'm like, why isn't the sensor covered?
Yeah.
And then I looked through the menu and I was like,
Why 2 hours and 5 minutes? But that's okay. I can't ever see myself doing a 8K video for 2 hours and 5 minutes.
you don't have enough card for that.
No,
Bro, I run out of card space before I run out of freaking before the camera would get any close to overheating or anything like that. But I did just get one of these bad boys. We never run out of the space again.
Angel
okay?
Bird.
Yes, sir. 512 too.
Yeah, and now they've got a 4 terabyte card, I think.
Yeah.
That's
So
sick.
as much as like these cards are a pain in the ass because they're expensive, once you have them, having the ability to have like this much space on a memory card
Yeah,
and still be super fast is amazing. Because like the CF Express Type A's or whatever, they max out at 160 or something like that.
yeah,
So imagine having an A9 and or A1 and you're like, oh yeah, I can only get like 300 pictures because you shoot uncompressed 14-bit RAW because compressed RAW is or lossless compressed is some kind of issue. Again, I'm not going to go back there, but for some reason, there's a difference between uncompressed and lossless and compressed lossless. It's the same file, but okay, anyways. Yeah, so yeah, having more space and being able to shoot, more pictures with this card, like I think I've shot a bunch. I still got over almost 4,000 images, and I'm shooting RAW and JPEG. This is set to RAW and JPEG.
What are you guys using as far as card readers go?
ProGrade.
Is that
ProGrade or no
Type
grade?
B? It's
Yeah, Type B. Yeah,
CFast Type B. How much is that thing?
Too much. All these things are expensive, man. I think it was like 100 and something bucks or something like that. Maybe like 80.
How much was yours, Chuck?
Delkin.
yeah. I got it a while back, and it still works fine. I mean, it's for CF Express B. When I bought my first Delkin CF Express card, this is before mirrorless, right? Yeah, yeah. As soon as they offered the firmware update for the D5 and D850.
So I was using this for the longest time.
Yeah, but that won't read it.
Yeah, and then when we got the Z62, I was still using XQDs, but we had a CF Express, and I was like, I want to use a CF Express card. So I finally had to break down and I bought a ProGrade one. And it's amazing. I love it, but I still got 2 different card readers, and it's annoying, but these cards still work too.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I know. That's what I loved about it when Matt Granger did that little test and talked about, hey, XQD cards work. And you know what? They work just fine.
Yeah.
You may spend a little more time waiting for it to download or something like that. You're not going to shoot at 130 frames per second on it. But you know what? If you're just in a studio or something, those cards are fantastic, even for video.
For sure. And like some of the best SD cards is still no better than this. So like top high-end, top of the line SD cards like are in this same range. And then we have even better technology with the CF Express Type B. So like it gets even better for us.
Yeah. I remember everybody laughing at Nikon when they came out with the XQD card and the D4. Oh, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. It's going nowhere. And then CFast came out for, Canon embraced that, and everybody, it's the greatest. Where's it at now?
By using that, it's not.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, and that's the thing. Like Nikon they do some really cool things, and they make some really, and they just really don't. They get ignored. Like So I don't
Yep.
know.
What do you use for events? Like
What do
speed
you
light
mean?
wise, speed light wise.
Oh, that's funny because you just had what's the name on your show? Vanessa Joy, and she was talking about Profoto. And let me tell you something right now. Westcott sent me some lights, and I use Westcott and stuff like that. I use the Godox, but when Joe Biden send us that gas stimulus check, that gas money stimmy, I'm getting me a B10 plus and an A1. Okay,
But what are you
get
using now?
so I'm between Westcott and Godox. Godox does not work on the Nikon Z62 or the Z9, the on-camera flash. I have a Godox V1, and I use the Godox off-camera like the triggers. The triggers work fine.
Yeah.
High-speed sync, all that stuff works fine. But the minute you put a V1 on top of the Z9, TTL is a no-go. If I use my Westcott, TTL works just fine. So I actually like and use my Westcott when I shoot events. I use my Westcott for my Z9 and my Z6 because TTL doesn't work. And that's not a Nikon issue. That's a Godox issue because
Yep.
the Westcott works, but the Godox doesn't. So the only time I use Godox is if I'm using off-camera flash or if I want to manually control the exposure. But when I only use TTL and I use TTL for my events, I use the Westcott because it just works better.
The Westcott flash.
Yeah, the Westcott FJ80 I have.
You guys don't use Nikon speed lights?
Who does that?
I know, I do, but I want to upgrade my flash system, man.
Yeah, I've got
The Westcott ones cost. I mean, the Nikon ones cost like $1,000.
I got the SB900 and the SB910, but yeah, I agree. There's so many other options out there now. Not to mention the fact that you won't have to worry about that because Nikon's not going to be in the speed light game anymore. I love that Profoto, but the cost is kind of prohibitive. Again, I'm not bashing it, and I'm not bashing the price. You get what you pay for, and just like Vanessa Joy was saying, they're robust, they work, and with the Godox, I don't care who you talk to, they either have had an issue or they know somebody that's had the foot break off of their speed light. It's just I'm not saying don't buy them either. I bought them. I use them because they're reasonably priced. They're good. But if you're going to be taking it on and off the camera or you let the camera tip over with that speed light on it, you're apt to be in the market for another one because the foot broke off of it.
Is that the Westcott?
So I put my headphones. Yeah, this is the Westcott that I use, the FJ80. And the cool thing about it is it's universal. This is going to turn into a promotion now. So you can use it with any of the cameras. Like they set to Nikon now, but if you hit the button, I can change it to Canon where you can't see it.
That's awesome. How much is that unit?
I don't know. They sent it to me for free. I got a special relationship.
Nice.
I don't pay for anything.
I paid by Westcott.
Yeah, but I brought Lumix. So if you shoot Panasonic, and it'll work all the same. I literally gave it to other people. See it sitting that says Lumix. So like if you shoot Panasonic, I have a Panasonic G85 right there. I can put this on here and use it. Then I can take it out and put it right in my Nikon, and it'll work the same. TTL and all. Like that's flawless. But if I put my Godox on,
I don't want to hear all this. I got enough. You're gonna make me want to go look now.
He said that Westcott looks a lot like the V1, and the V1 looks a lot like the Profoto A1. Okay, It is what it is.
Yep.
Wow.
They all work. They all look the same. I mean, and again, I had a Nikon SB700 when I first started, but they were $300, almost $400 a flash. That when you're just starting, again, going back to that, Nikon is expensive.
Yeah.
When you're a young person and you spent all your money on a 750, and now you can only afford a 51.8, now you're gonna tell me I got to spend $400 on a flash, and it's just one flash. And Godox says, here, $200, you can have this. With the old school V8 60s and things like that, and it'll work because light is light at the end of the day. Now that I've come to the point where I'm making a little bit more money, now I can splurge and can afford quality, and I can
Yeah.
make an excuse and justify it when really all these lights work the same, but I can justify wanting something more stable like a Profoto, because the quality of light. I did a shoot in my basement, and I'm like, man, like this light quality, like she said, it shifts. It just what it is. It's not the same. So
Yeah.
once I get Profoto, I'm done.
Yeah, Robert Hall does a lot of. He's always talking about Godox and Flashpoint. You could include in it, but I think he's talked about Westcott too. But he talks about he's always measuring light and talking about light shift and over time as it heats up and blah blah blah. And that's what Vanessa was talking about, this temperature stability.
And also, so somebody said SB700 was always $329. That's the one I can afford. But with Nikon, they always had two different levels. There was a 700, and there was like the 800 or the 900.
900 and
900 was
That's
the bigger
$500.
one. Exactly. So this is the output, because the guide number, the output was level. This was the same quality as a 900, but for the SB700 price. So when you're thinking about, hey, I got $300 to spend and I'm in this $300 range, do I get something that competes with the one that's 500, or do I get the cheaper quality one when it's going to do the same thing?
That's $500.
Does that? Yeah, the 900. I heard it has overheating issues though.
The 900 did, and they came out with the 910. This is $179, and it does everything that the Nikon does.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, there was an overheating issue. They were melting the front of the flash, shooting weddings or constant multiple bursts or whatever with the 900, and then they came out with the 910, and the 910 has a regulator in it. It will shut down.
And so going back to the point, like, you spend all of this money on this Nikon version and you're in a job and it just shuts down on you. You're like, this is the Nikon one. What's the argument for buying the Godox or anything else if the Nikon's going to do the same thing? Not saying that it does that all the time, but
Yeah, well, I think it's when Nikon decided, look, there's plenty of aftermarket out there. Nobody's buying ours anyway.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. It's like,
why not? That's a great idea. Good move.
Yeah, I have a stupid question. That Westcott, does that tilt at an angle both directions?
I think so. So, like, you have this angle. Wait, sorry.
So turn it and tilt it down. Tilt it up now. There you go. Yeah, it turns all directions. Great.
Well, it goes back this far. Like, so if I'm shooting, it'll go back. Like, if I wanted to like face it, let me just zoom it back. So like here, and then this is all the way straight, and it'll go back right here, and then I can.
Got it. That's what you need. All right. And you put any modifier on it?
Yeah, it uses the same things as like the Godox does. It has a little round head. So like, let's say, because I shoot Godox too. So if I have like the Godox little bulb, it's magnetic. It's the same thing.
Nice.
Like you have these things you can just put on, and
nice.
This isn't for that, but it'll be the little boob thing. But then I used to shoot Magmod back in the day, so I use my Magmod stuff too. So
yeah, I got some Magmod stuff too. I actually like the Magmod bounce globe or whatever.
I'm gonna hit him up.
The big one.
Oh wow.
And this will trigger, the and that's another thing, Chuck. Like, that's also what changed. Back in the day, it was either you use the Nikon flash with like Profoto or Alien Bees, but then when Godox came out, they said, hey, you can use our flash, but you can also use our strobe, and they'll work together. So now if I'm at a job and I'm shooting an event and I have a strobes that are lighting the scene, I can control those strobes from my camera on my flash. Why would I buy the Nikon system and have two different systems when I could buy one system that works together? Yes, exactly.
It runs everything. I have more in the studio, but it will run my speed lights, the 8200, the 80, the 400 Pro, the 600 Pro. You're right. And all the different zones and everything else. Yeah, they were the first really to jump on that. And since other brands have decided, we need to do the same thing.
Yeah, like the workflow, like it's easy. Like from here to here, all the things work the same. So that's a no brainer. Whether you shoot Profoto has that family 9. Westcott has the family now. Godox has the
Yep.
family.
Yep.
Why am I shooting a Canon flash
Well,
with Profoto? Then I got to switch and then I get them to connect.
there's
Like,
one more item out there. Have you seen the Raven, that controller that will control multiple brands?
it's a gimmick.
No, yeah,
I'm joking. I'm joking.
it's you know who makes it? It comes from the triggers. Shoot, well, I'm invested in those two. That's from back a while back.
Lord, I
they
swear,
were
Chuck.
great in their time, but they're no longer a big deal. Anyway, you can shoot. You can have Profoto lights or Profoto whatever system, and Godox or Flashpoint system or Alien Bees or whatever, so that your one trigger controls them all. The only problem is they just don't have it set up for everything right now as far as cameras go. I did send them something and ask about the dome, just like the
magnetic. That's
Yep.
easy. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
That's
the
so
Nikon
cool.
doesn't do that.
Yep.
The Nikon doesn't do that. The Godox, they all do that. You're like, sorry, I'm moving on.
Is that gonna affect the pacemaker?
Yeah, well,
but yeah.
That's totally cool. That Westcott, I never knew about that. Thanks.
Yeah, there you go. And I was gonna make a joke because I gotta dip out and pick up my daughter here. I thought AP owned more photography gear than God, but I think you might have him, Chuck. AP is an angry photographer.
Yeah,
I thought Ken, because every time Ken's tagline is "I own more lenses than God." Okay,
yeah.
he looks right at the camera when he says it. Than God, I own more lenses than God. But Chuck, bro, you keep saying, "Yeah, I got that too." I'm like, "Damn, Chuck, you understand?"
Yeah, I know people probably think I'm lying half the time. No, I've got it somewhere. If I can find whatever you're talking about, I'll find it.
Yeah, right. It's somewhere around it.
Yeah, that tells you something, doesn't it?
Right.
It never got used.
Your box is way too clean back there. You see, got one box. You got a bunch of with grids and everything, bro. What are you doing?
I need to clean house here, and I could probably buy another Z9.
Look, I'm using my screen as my light right now. Okay,
there you go. Cool.
You're being lit by some people. Like, anyways, yeah. And I got this little makeshift camera. Y'all don't play with Chuck. And
that is a $79 LED mat I bought off Amazon and put it in a soft box just for kicks and grins. Perfect.
Yeah, well,
cheap.
Chuck's got it all back there, man. Shit.
Wait till we roll out the camera stand coming up at the end of the month.
I got to dip out here real quick, but I want to share my screen real quick. So put my screen up here.
Gotcha.
Okay, you guys, you see this? This is a real wedding I shot with the Nikon Z9. Okay, I am not very what's the word? I'm not like my tolerance for noise. Is I have a very high tolerance for like noise. So like these pictures are this is ISO 4000, and then I went up a stop. So really, I'm at like 8,000. This is like 12,800. It still looks fine to me. Like I'm not tripping. It probably has a load because these 45 megapixel. There it is loaded up. So these images are super noisy, but it's fine with me. But this camera passed with flying colors, bro. Are you telling me like I had no issues with this camera at this wedding? And I was never below ISO 3200 the entire time. This is also a plug for me to show that you guys, I really do use this gear. Okay. Like I really be capturing these moments. This isn't the best of the best. This is actual stuff that I had to capture with the camera. Okay.
Right.
Plug. And I used my Westcott flash to do these bridals as well. Right. You see here?
Yeah.
Boom.
Looks great.
It's full TTL.
I use manual. I'm not a big. When I'm on camera, it's TTL. Off camera, it's manual. I don't use TTL off camera. I use TTL. I use a TTL. Hold. Let me scroll down. I gotta find them because I'm gonna show you guys.
What are you using? Capture One, huh?
Yes, Capture One or Def. Okay.
Is that a subscription or is that like a software you buy? What is it?
I think I pay the I pay the money or whatever it is. I pay the subscription. Sorry. Where are we at here? Oh, here we go. This is the fun, fancy. I'm dragging the shutter.
Yeah.
And doing all of that. Oh, where is it at? Is this? Anyways, yeah. So, you guys, I really be out here using these cameras, okay, putting them through these paces. So,
Yep.
No, I believe you, man. You're a working photographer, like Vahagan.
Yeah, working hard too. I don't have all this gear laying around being unused like Chuck. I'm about to find on the Chuck's eBay.
See,
account,
you need to be an amateur. See, you need to be an amateur. Amateurs have everything.
No, that's why I was. That's why I asked. That's why I was asking Ike what he used, because he's actually doing this thing like Omar and everybody else. You know, he's actually out and doing events.
Yeah, man.
So whatever if I ask him something, it's proven that he uses stuff. So what I mean, you know what I mean. So,
but
thanks for sharing that, Ike.
No problem. But before I leave, I do plan on renting because I need to do my own Nikon versus everybody video. So I'm gonna rent the A1 and I'm gonna put my own test together. Manny's probably gonna beat me to it because he has them already, so he's probably gonna do that same test. But screw him, I'm gonna do my own test too. I love you, Manny. So I'm just playing. All right, you guys, I gotta go. I gotta pick my daughter.
All right, hey, thanks for coming. Hey, thanks for jumping in, man.
All right, thanks, man.
Hey, see you
all
later,
right, brother. We'll talk to you later. I think I'm gonna hang it up here in just a second, Vahagan.
Yep.
But man, this is another great stream today. All because of you all, everybody here. Sorry we didn't get to all the comments over here in the chat room. Hope you guys enjoyed following along.
It's very educational, man. I learned a lot.
It always is. That's the great thing about this,
With lighting, it's lighting is so fascinating, man. You can never know too much.
No, and it's fun. It's something that you can really have fun with. Man, all the people in here. Jasper, not blowing you off, man. I need to do more. I need to do something, do one of these one day, and we're just going to talk about video. I guess I'm afraid of it because I don't know enough about video, but we're gonna have a live stream and where you can really get in here and chew the fat. I just have to find somebody to bring in to do that with you.
Yeah, he wanted to know about video and cinematography. I mean, I haven't done it all, so
Yeah.
But next week, I promise you guys, I want to thank everybody for joining our streams. Just real quickly, if I don't mention that in my show, you know that, like, thank you from the bottom of my heart, guys. So, hopefully we got to the questions, and next time around we're gonna have a Q&A section. I promise. So,
hey guys, I appreciate everybody being in here, and before I forget it,
I love that.
My wife is all about, you don't ever ask anybody what. Anyway, hey, I appreciate everybody being in here. It's always great. You guys are fantastic. I learn more from the chat often than I do in anything else because there's a lot of knowledge out there. I enjoy. If you have a channel, you can bet I check it out. I watch it. Try to stay current, keeping up with what you're producing. For those of you that don't, I want to make sure you have a voice too. So with that said, I hope everybody enjoyed it. And next live stream for me will be Saturday, the 20th. Is that correct?
19th.
19th. Yes. The 20th would be for John Ishii. He's going to be in here this Saturday night again. And we're going to chat him up and have some fun. And if you guys have any questions about what he did as a photojournalist, then make sure you bring them up. And I'm going to turn him loose to answer these questions. So look forward to that. And then, of course, Mr. Vahagan has another biggie coming up on Tuesday night. What is it?
Cliff Montner.
If you are a wedding photographer, you got to make the show.
Yeah, he's gonna be great. Nikon ambassador. Oh, Mozman, you asking a question about Stu Blue. Chuck,
Yep.
you know anything?
No, not right now. He's doing the right thing, I guess, and just taking care of his family and doing the things he needs to do. No emergency or anything like that. Nothing terrible, but he's just doing what he needs to do. Again, we say it all the time. Life is life, and life first. This has to take a back seat to it sometimes.
Yeah, Moz, that's what I heard. He's taking care of some personal stuff, and he want to take a little break from YouTube. That's all I heard, man. But I wish him the best of luck, and he'll be back. He'll be back.
Jaspreet, you must have dropped a name of somebody. Let me see. Matteo Bertoli.
Paul, I will. I'll try you again, man.
Okay.
I'll try you again. All right, Chuck. Everybody, thank you very much.
Vaughan, thanks for joining. Glad we had Ike in here. Everybody else that joined live, I love all the comments. We will see you again. I'll see you because I'm going to sneak in the door on Vahagen's, excuse me, live stream Tuesday night. And then you'll see me Saturday night with John Ishii. Hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the week. Hope it goes well for you. God bless you all. And we'll see you again soon.
See you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me, Chuck. Bye.
You're welcome.
All right.